Good evening, Will. Y'all ready? Okay, let me get everybody. If everyone could take their seat, we'll begin. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. This is a continuation of the Leon Valley City Council Special Meeting 312 hearing, continued from last night, July 18th, to this afternoon, July 19th, and we'll call this continuation of the meeting open at 5:35 p.m. There's a couple of things I need to go over before we actually continue with where we left off last night. Number one, those people that are at home viewing this live proceeding on your computer, please note that you would go to the Leon Valley City Council meeting icon and then go to the September 19th special continued. That's what it says, special. I'm sorry, July. I said September because I wrote September. July 19th, special continued. It's there on the body, but then there's also a bar up above that says live 7/19/15 5:30 special continued at council chambers. So if you'll hit that, then you'll be connected. So thank you, and thank you, Ms. Postole, for those directions. All right, before we begin again, I wanted just to review our guidelines that we're going to follow in this meeting as well. Please be civil to one another. If anyone becomes disruptive, which means you are speaking in a way that we can hear you from the dais, whispering's okay, but we will give you a warning, and then again, if you become disruptive, we'll ask you to please leave the chambers. But again, the officers will direct that to me. And if you do need to talk to someone, just step outside into the foyer. I think that would be the best way to handle it. No one speaks without being first recognized by the chair. This is our counselors on the dais. Please do not interrupt the speaker. Let them finish and then raise your hand to be recognized to speak. All counselors will be given time to ask the questions that they want, and there's no time limit for speaking in the ordinance. And if you'll please turn off your cell phones. And there is another local rule that says that there'll be no cell phones at the dais. Please turn those off. All witnesses who have not been sworn in by the city secretary, if this is your first time to testify, you will be sworn in first. Those of you that are continuing, we just remind you that you're still under oath. Citizens be heard. There's no public comment allowed unless it's agreed upon by the majority vote of the members of the council present. And last but not least, this is our third meeting of the week. We've met Tuesday for special council meeting, last night, tonight, and we've got tomorrow morning's coffee here in the council chambers at 9 o'clock, 9 to 11. And so I'd like to kind of assess where we're at about 9:30 and see where we're at and then decide how long we'll go. But we will take a break in probably about 2 hours, okay? So thank you for that. I do appreciate your considerations and your courtesies this evening. All right. So last night, Mr. Martinez was putting on his case. That's the presentation by complainants. And Mr.
Respondent, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, respondent. That's right. We skipped presentation by called witnesses so that we can go back to that. So we are in the middle of Mr. Martinez's presentation. And Mr. Martinez, yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Before Mr. Martinez begins, could I make a motion?
You sure can.
I would like to motion that Mr. Ryan Henry be removed as conflict counsel due to his bias that was shown in last night's presentation video by Mr. Martinez.
Okay. You have a motion to remove Mr. Henry due to the video last night that you feel shows his bias.
Correct.
During this proceeding. And do we have a second? Okay. Seeing no second, then your motion does fail.
Okay.
Thank
I would
you.
like to make another motion
Okay.
that after Mr. Martinez is finished with his presentation, that we allow citizens to be heard.
Okay. That is a motion to allow citizens to be heard at the end of the respondent's presentation. Is there a second? All right. Mr. Bradshaw, there is not a second, so that dies for lack of a second. All right. Anything else? Okay, very good. Then we will continue with Mr. Martinez. If you'll please proceed, and it's now 5:39 on July the 19th.
Mayor, City Council, citizens and guests of Leon Valley, I welcome you to this terrible, or the reason for this terrible meeting, but I thank you for coming. This should never happen in our city. The charter was not made to be a tool to victimize somebody, but let's move forward. Crystal is going to attempt to get a hold of Dr. Edwards that would like to, he's in Laredo, and let's see if we can get him on the phone. He said he'd be available around 5:30.
Hi, Dr. Edwards, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to put you on a speaker. Excuse me, sorry.
You're wanting to specify right now?
If you can, Dr. Edwards. If not, I can call you back later.
What would you, Dr. Edwards, did you hear that? He said you could either
I did.
testify now or you could testify later. What is the best for your schedule?
Well, I'm on the edge of San Antonio, and it would be better if I could come in just a few minutes.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you,
it's
Dr.
better
Edwards.
to have you live than on the on the
All right,
video.
thank you. We'll talk to you later then.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So if anybody doesn't realize, Dr. Edwards is a psychologist, and he's been working in Laredo, so he's just driving in. What we're going to show tonight, or start with, there was some controversy for the first night about some of the body cams.
We are the city council meeting, so unfortunately we were reached the max capacity with a witness.
You're a witness?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anybody that's with you?
Will.
Will? Come with me.
Are y'all here for
Witness? Witness. I'm not sure.
Okay, you can see that was Sarah Smart, that she came in and she told them that she was a witness, and they escorted her into the big conference room here where staff or Kelly Kinsler had the witnesses for the staff witnesses waiting for the hearing to start. So when she said she was a witness, they just put her in that room, and then they questioned, you're not one of our witnesses, so they escorted her back out. Go ahead and place number 2. Oh, wait, I take it back. This might be her coming in at a different angle. And look at the timestamp. It's 5:36.
Hello. Pretty good. It's all right. And then she's just gonna wand you down real quick, okay? You're gonna go. It's right there. Yeah, no problem.
How nearly as pronounced last night, huh?
Yeah, it's still sort of.
It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Point of order, Mr. Henry. These don't appear to be relevant to any of the complaints against Mr. Martinez.
This is video of what happened the first night. How can this not be relevant to this subject?
It's relevant.
Are you trying to hide something, or is this something more like was in that video where you said I'm going to try to mislead people? Is this something like you're trying to do again?
Mr. Martinez, let's hear from the attorney.
Essentially, Mr. Martinez didn't get to any witnesses the first 2 days at all. As far as what is relevant to the complaints that exist right now, what happened basically anytime in July isn't necessarily relevant to going in and seeing what occurred and the facts that occurred that are based on the timeline of the complaints that are going backwards. If Mr. Martinez thinks that there's something else that occurred in July, that's a completely separate matter that would be brought up at a different time. It'd be one thing if he had been denied the ability to have the witness here when they were being called and his timing was there. But that, again, even if that were the case, that might be something to bring up, but it wouldn't be brought up as relevant to these proceedings and the complaints that are currently involved in these proceedings. So I believe that Ms. Alcazar is correct. It is not relevant evidence to the complaints themselves. Now, as of the council, if you want to go ahead and allow them to continue, or you can make a motion to move on for testimony that is in response to the complaints themselves.
Okay. Yes.
I believe this is in response to one of the complaints that was made by Chief Savaggio during his presentation, that he said no witnesses were kept out. They were let in immediately. And I believe that's what it looks like Mr. Martinez is trying to rebut.
Chief Savaggio's
complaint
occurred in April.
No, that he came and gave to the council, started out with that nobody was kicked out of the chambers.
I'm
Okay,
just
and Mr.
rebutting Chief Savaggio's claim. So this is relevant.
Okay. And you want to say why you think it's relevant, why you want to proceed with this, in your opinion?
Two reasons.
Okay.
One, I'm claiming that the city manager, Kelly Kinsler, is the puppet master, and she's the one behind all these vicious orchestrated attacks on me. Somebody had to have directed the police department for number one, somebody had to direct staff to have the chambers filled with, 38, if I remember correct, police officers, fire department, employees, and their witnesses. Somebody had to dictate that only 70 people could be in the council, or there's only 70 chairs and they said there can only be 70 people in here, even though at a lot of previous council meetings on very controversial issues, we've had standing room only in here and standing room only out in the hallway. So somebody had to have directed that. Somebody had to have directed the police to be super vigilant in responding. There's a clip in here where one of the police officers is telling somebody that's walking in that they have to turn off their cell phone. The announcement was just made, no electronic devices are permitted. Now that's a violation of the Texas Open Meeting Act, because if anybody in the audience wanted to turn on their cell phone and record, that's permissible by the Texas Open Meeting Act. So that violates. It's another point that violates the Texas laws, and some of these videos show some of that stuff.
Okay. All right. Ms. Charles had her hand up. Okay.
You can.
Mine passed.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
I would like to move that we go on with the hearing that we're here for and not go down these rabbit trails. They can be subject of another complaint at another time, but they aren't relevant to what we're here for, and we need to get to the meat of this. We're on day 4, and we need to move on with it.
What is your hurry? I would be very, very surprised if I'm going to be able to complete tonight. We're going to continue into next week. So, and I will not be pressured by you, Monica, to finish tonight. I'm going to take my time, present my case, and present all my testimony. If it takes me 2 or 3 nights, it's going to take me 2 or 3 nights, and I refuse to let you stop me from presenting my testimony properly.
Okay. We do have a motion by Ms. Alcacer to move on from what you're trying to present, Mr. Martinez, to your next witness. I'm not sure, whatever, but not to go back. So I'm sure Ms. Charles is going to second it. Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in, oh yes, further discussion. Go ahead.
I believe that this, not being able to listen to Mr. Martinez's testimony and view these videos when it's looks like it's establishing credibility of some of the complainants, it kind of shows that the things that they said while under oath are not true. This questions their credibility, and for us to not be able to do that, I think, is not being fair. And I would like to ask Ms. Alcazar what she meant the other night in her video when she said, "I'm trying to mislead them and direct away from it in the charges."
Well,
I'm not under oath, and it's
Yeah.
We're here discussing this issue, and if you look at the headings, it's just people arriving, kicked out. It's even prejudicial in his titles. Will goes and tries to help, other POV. None of that is relevant. We're here on the charges from back in starting last year.
okay. Ms. Charles? Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Right ahead. Finish it.
So 2 things that I know are not true based on reviewing what was said in the council meeting. The chief of police said that I said there was 38 officers in the meeting on my first night. That is not what I said. That is factually incorrect. The chief of police said that no witnesses were turned away from the meeting after they were identified as witnesses. That is not true, and the body cameras footage shows that that is not true.
Okay. Very good. Ms. Charles?
I would just like to ask what relevance that has, though, with the other accusations from our complainants against Martinez.
Because if a witness is lying about some things, what else are they lying about?
Okay. And isn't it, Mr. Henry, I mean, I don't think we had any kind of rules that other than the procedures, and I don't see anything. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
the
said this is not a
Texas
court
rules
of law.
of civil procedure
You
don't
said this
apply
is a
here.
civil, this
Right.
is a
Rules of
legislative.
evidence don't apply
yeah,
here.
so I'm thinking if this is, his case, let him put on his case.
As I said, this is a legislative inquiry.
Yeah.
That's the
right.
body inquiring from, on a legislative matter. The charter actually states, and then your ordinance actually states, that the respondent can present any relevant evidence, including testimony. And so the question is what Mr. Martinez bringing up right now regarding stuff that happened in July relevant to the complaints going back, that occurred before then? Was basically, I think the last complaint was the April 16th complaint. So anything before then that he can, provide and respond and present may be relevant. If he's talking about stuff that happened after that, if it's simply, he said he was wearing a blue hat and he was wearing a red hat, it's up to the council to decide if that qualifies as relevant under the charter.
Okay.
And I believe Ms. Alcazar's motion is, anything that happened back in, or that happened this month in July isn't relevant to this if it's just, was his witnesses, or were his witnesses turned away. It can be maybe brought up at a different meeting or something like that, but it's not, her motion isn't relevant for
Isn't this all
these
one
complaints.
meeting, though? I mean, this is July 2nd, July 3rd, July 18th, and 19th.
Yeah, this
so
is
it's
all one meeting
tied
regarding
together.
the complaints against Mr. Martinez.
And I thought I heard Mr. Bradshaw say this is in response to what Chief had said during his testimony on July the 3rd. So I thought that was what I heard you say. So they're trying to, I'm assuming they're trying to rebut that. So I don't understand why that's not connected.
Because it has nothing to do with Mr. Martinez. He never gave a list of witnesses. To this day, he hasn't given a list. They wouldn't have known who to keep in and who to keep out, and what the chief said and what Mr. Bradshaw's recall is and what my recall is are all a little different. So we're here on a 312 hearing with Mr. Martinez, not with Sarah. She got to testify. It says Gail Tribble. I don't know if she'll testify or not, but she, her name is on this little list of things. But they weren't prevented from testifying. They did come in. They're here last night. They're here now. This is not what they have to say may be relevant, but seeing a video about what happened, about how they got in or out, is not relevant to this hearing.
All right. Very good. So let's call the roll, Ms. Pasley, on that motion and second to move on, please.
Councillor Charles?
I agree.
Councillor Alcacer?
Yes, let's move on.
And Councillor Bradshaw?
No.
Okay, the motion passes 2 ayes and 1 nay. All right, so Mr. Martinez, you are not able to use these videos as per the motion passed by the council.
This just proves my statement that I made in my opening statement, that Mr. Henry is not qualified to be the designated official in this hearing. What just happened right now proves his bias. So, and I pointed out in the hearing, the procedures that Mr. Henry wrote states that the designating officer has to be a lawyer or a law firm that is not engaged with any part of the city, is not in active representation of the city, and since he was the investigating official on these charges, he is definitely not qualified to be sitting on the dais right now.
Okay.
And he also just mentioned something about this is a legislative procedure, and I've contended from day one that in a lot of my actions I have legislative immunity for my actions, and this goes all the way up to the founding of our country, and even the Texas legislature says that a legislator has immunity from prosecution for anything, for their actions, and a lot of the stuff on the that I'm being accused of is actually stuff that would happen during open session. So I can't be charged with that, but I am being. Okay, let me move forward then.
Please. Thank you.
I want our council members under
Oh,
oath.
excuse me.
No,
Miss. Okay.
I want them under oath.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I mentioned yesterday, I don't think it's fair that I've kept a lot of my witnesses now for the fourth day. And I guess I can call Olin Yarnell up first. He was a former zoning commission chairman, and he's going to go ahead and speak at this time.
Mr. Yarnell, you will need to be sworn in, please. Ms. Pasley, if you'll please give the oath.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do so. Greetings, Mayor.
Good
members
evening.
of the City Council, in the chamber, and the citizens here and online. Contrary to Chief Sabaggio's medical assessment of my capabilities last evening, I'm able to get to the podium tonight. He indicated, as I remember, that the reason I went to Pilgrim Cleaners was because I was somewhat infirm or some such comment. That was the reason I visited Pilgrim Cleaners with my issue. I'm here at the podium tonight to thank Councilman Martinez personally and publicly for intervening in the issue of my criminal investigation for having a private, joking conversation with the manager of Pilgrim Cleaners in July of 2017. Somehow, that testimony, that conversation, was turned into a criminal investigation. Chief Sabaggio stated that they thought I was a city employee because I was wearing a city shirt. The individual at Pilgrim Cleaners that I talked to, that was what I was told. I don't own a city shirt. I've never owned a city shirt. I've never worn a city shirt. So that testimony by Chief Sabaggio last evening or the previous evenings is incorrect. It is a lie. It doesn't conform with the letter that the city attorney sent to the Attorney General of Texas that laid out the charges when I asked for a copy of the report. There is an incident report dated 8/22/17 that indicates that somebody talked to the manager. I'll not mention her name, but she's already been mentioned in this conversation. Talked to the manager of Pilgrim Cleaners about getting their sign repaired. The report does not have the correct date, the correct time, and does not include my name. So when I asked the city attorney in an email why I received this report, the indication that I got back was, and I'm paraphrasing, this is the information we have on file, and this is why you're getting it. I'm still, it doesn't indicate I'm there. This is what they're building their case on an incorrect date and incorrect time. I work as a volunteer at the airport on Tuesdays. My shift starts at 11:30. I normally leave home at 11 o'clock. This indicates that I was hit Pilgrim Cleaners at 10:50. Now, the only reason I'd be at Pilgrim Cleaners at 10:50 was to pick up, emergency pick up a shirt. I have extra shirts. I don't need to stop by on the way to my volunteer job. So, in the testimony of, further on in testimony of Chief Sabaggio, he indicated in a answer to you that the file has now been turned over to the city secretary and apparently is in her office. I guess the question is Is that true? Can I ask a question? I can't ask a question. How do we find out if the city secretary has a copy of the file? If the file is in her office.
Point of order, Mr. Henry. His testimony should relate to the complaints against Benny.
It has to do with Mr. Martinez coming to my rescue as a constituent when I asked for the city council to take up this measure and resolve the issue. That's what it's about.
If your testimony is along those lines, that's relevant to the charges. Whether or not she currently possesses it because of the procedures in the Texas Public Information Act and how they are submitted to the Attorney General's office, unless Mr. Martinez got involved in that particular process, then I'm not sure whether it's in her possession or not in her possession as part of that process is relevant to whether or not Mr. Martinez did anything. So I think the point of order is partially confirmed and partially denied, because what you're talking about and what you just said your testimony is on point. And so that's what you should continue testifying to.
Could we possibly ask that question if and when the chief is recalled? I think we could ask that again.
Council certainly can.
Yeah, exactly. So to clarify that, that's what I'm hearing you say, that you want that clarified.
Well,
and I'll be glad to do
I'm
that.
just trying to search out the truth about what Chief Sabadio was able to say. He went on and on and on about different things that seemed to me not relevant to this hearing, and it was allowed. But I'll be glad to hold that question to the future. Relative to this question, the city charter allows, on page 24, for the city council, section 7.07, powers to settle claims. If I may read that, please.
You sure may.
Powers to settle claims. The city council shall have the power to compromise and settle any and all claims and lawsuits of every kind and character in favor or against the city, including suits by the city to recover delinquent taxes and after counseling with the city attorney. I see that as being what Mr. Martinez was doing on my behalf. In fact, I understand that there was a executive session where that was discussed. Now that's a private thing, but apparently there's a email message between Chief Sabadio and the city manager having some discussion about what happened that night. So I don't understand how Mr. Martinez is being criticized or brought to the bench due to the fact that the city charter allows that action. Why is he being persecuted for that? I'm sorry, that's another question. In addition to that issue, he's being charged with hostile work environment during city council meetings. During a December city council meeting regarding the subject of rezoning of St. John's Church property and the discussion of expanding the citizen notification zone, Mr. Mellon has testified to the fact that Councilman Martinez asked him very probing, demanding questions during the meeting. It created a hostile work environment and caused him to get confused and publicly addressed him. That's his statements. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the transcript. I served in 13 years plus on the City Zoning Commission. The last 4, I was voted as chair. And the subject of expanded notification was a routine thing. In fact, it was not always necessary because the previous Community Development Office directors gave us in our packets the information indicating the people who had responded inside the 200-foot mark and those who responded outside the 200-foot mark, and also those people who responded via a petition. And it was always considered. It never was an issue. So I don't understand how, in fact, having spent 13 years on the Zoning Commission, after Mr. Mellon got finished trying to explain that issue to you all, I couldn't figure out what he was talking about. I was confused. And you all, as not being the front row of the zoning issues, look confused too. He seems to indicate that he's not qualified to be doing the job he's in, based on what I see. The legal requirements according to the Charter, Section 308, are to hold a 312 hearing within the 60-day time limit. Where is that in this process? We seem to be past the 60 days that the City Council was officially notified of these charges. I heard earlier today that report came out on April the 2nd. Is that correct? Is that an incorrect date? That you all received the official notification of this hearing of the charges on April the 2nd.
Do you want to address that? I thought it was March 15th.
Do I have a correct date? Okay.
Well, the council's really not supposed to be the one being asked questions, but
right. So
date-wise,
Okay,
the main
sorry.
set came out on March 15th. Subsequent ones came out on April 16th.
I'm sorry, April 16th?
16th.
Okay.
I
For
believe,
16.
yes.
So what's 60 days from that? Do we have a way to compute that?
A point of order, we never got the April 16th complaints until July 2nd when they came in. That's why we reset it to 2 weeks to give the extra 14 days. The complaint existed, but it was never given to council.
Is that right? I don't-
Just like the other complaints existed. There was a letter saying there was a complaint, but there was nothing attached. These are the complaints.
I'd have to go back and double check. I thought that Kelly's was sent to the full council on April 16th.
We didn't, nothing but a letter saying she was filing.
Oh, she was
a
filing
claim.
them?
Yes.
And then
The
I
same
gave them
thing
to
that
you on the second?
Yes, and the
Okay.
same thing that the chief
I would
did.
need to double check that on the timing, but as noted, the 60 days applies only to 308
Also.
violations.
Okay. Mr. Martinez.
Due to the illegal meeting on April 16th, when 2 members of council conducted business to ratify the procedures and set the date of April 30th for the 312 hearing, I was forced to hire Ed Cano as my attorney. We went to court. We got a temporary restraining order against the city. And Mr. Henry was very adamant, spoke several times to the judge, was very, very adamant that the 60 days started on March 15th. And if we have to pull the testimony or the proceedings from that temporary restraining order, that will prove that the 60 days started per Mr. Henry's testimony March 15th.
Okay. All right. Mr. Aronell, if you'll continue, please.
So I don't understand why we are not going by the 60-day rule. Is that a question I can't ask?
No, sir.
You can't ask us,
Well,
so we'll have to.
It seems questionable to me why we're not going by both 308 and 309. There was questions previously about bias. That seems to be another indication. Chief Sabadio said in his testimony that the city council, or I assume he means the city, did not prevent any witnesses from entering the building on the first night of the hearing. I was not allowed in the building. I was guilty of sending email or text messages to you, Mr. Bradshaw, to you, the mayor, and to Mr. Martinez, indicating that I've been told I can't get in the building is full. I was turned away even though I asked, why can't we use the big conference room? It's been set aside for other things. Why can't we use the court room down the hall? It's beyond the barrier that they have set up. It can't be used. Only this area of the building is meant to be used for this hearing. I was also the chair of the 2012 Bond Oversight Committee, which worked on the design of the structure, the redesign of the structure. And one of the things that was in that structure plans was to always have this conference room here to be served as an overflow to proceeding that was happening in this council chamber and exceeded the capacity. I asked the officer that evening, why can't I go into that room? It's set aside for other things. I said, what are they? He said, I don't know, I haven't been told. I said, well, how about down the hall? All these things I was stopped. I couldn't come in. So I sent the messages and said, I'm leaving. I'm going back home to watch on video. Give me a 45 minutes heads up, and I'll come back. In the meantime, Mrs. Kinsler made the decision to go have somebody go search and see if there's anybody out there. Well, by that time, we were all gone. I did come back, and I did get in at that time. So the fact that Chief Sabaggio stood here and stated, or online, on the phone, that we didn't have any witnesses turned away is not true. The body cam should show that. The security cameras should show that. These are things that are happening right in front of us. And we have people testifying that they're not happening. And it's very frustrating. And who knows how long this is going to go. The bill for this is already over $67,000. And as far as I can see, we have one contract for Mr. Henry to be the city's attorney at the court hearing, and an email message between Mrs. Kunstler and Mr. Henry to start the process. How are we here? I'm sorry. I need to stop before I get too emotional.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Yarnell? Yes, Ms. Charles.
Mr. Yarnell?
Yes, ma'am.
In your testimony, you mentioned that the report that was sent to the state, the Attorney General, had the incorrect date and time?
No, the incident report has the incorrect date and time.
Okay. Were you there any other time other than that time?
I was there many times, ma'am. That was a business that I frequented. That was our cleaners. I went to there probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a month, 5 times a month. It was routine.
But were you there other than this date for the purpose of talking to them about the sign?
No.
Okay.
No.
And then have you ever asked the city secretary if she has your documents?
I just asked this evening.
No, before today?
No, ma'am. I just found that out in the testimony last night.
Okay.
And I haven't had time to ask that question. I thought since I was up here, it would be an opportune time. Apparently, it is not.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You can't ask us, but thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
I have no questions.
Okay. Mr. Bradshaw.
Yes, Mr. Yarnell.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
How long have you known Mr. Martinez?
Well, I suppose 25 years.
Okay, so you've known him in a different capacity from just city council stuff?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And then you said you served as 13 years as the city zoning commissioner?
Yes, sir.
But you're no longer on the zoning commission?
No, I resigned because I felt that I was being targeted by the city manager and the city staff for raising questions about how the city was operating. It started with the Seneca Plaza work stoppage, which is another issue that would needs to be brought up another time.
Okay, so there was more than just the Pilgrim Cleaners incident?
the woodshed meeting that I had with Chief Sabaggio and Chief Valdez on July 18th was concerning the work stoppage at Pilgrim Cleaners and the sign issue work stoppage at Seneca Plaza and the sign issue at Pilgrim Cleaners. Okay. Somehow, through that conversation, I'm under criminal investigation for having a discussion with the manager at Pilgrim Cleaners, and have been for almost 2 years, apparently.
Okay. And then back to when the July 2nd meeting, when you came in, you went home. When you came back the second time, were you allowed in immediately? Were you allowed to sit in the general area?
I was allowed to sit, I think it was outside. Oh, no, I was allowed to come in, and I was sent into this room.
Okay.
And there was nobody in there. There was no projector going, which is the purpose of that room, one of the purposes of that room. So I couldn't see or hear what was going on.
And did you
so
say
I moved to the door with my chair to sit and be able to listen, because you can hear it out in the lobby.
Right.
And I was told by the fire chief, you can't sit there.
Okay.
So I moved back a few paces, sat there and listened. I eventually got up and stood by the door, and when the spaces became available in the lobby, I moved into a chair there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Yarnell, would you explain what happened in September of 2017, just to kind of give a basis for your complaint? What happened, and what was the outcome of the city council meeting as we went forward on that?
Point of order. It's relevance to the complaint against Benny. What he complained about or what complaint was filed on him is irrelevant to Mr. Martinez's complaint.
Chief Joe brought it up.
I think it probably might be relevant depending on what the testimony is.
Can we have an attorney consult, please?
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Do I have to move to do that? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Second. Thought it was.
Okay. There's a motion and a second, Ms. Alcacer and Ms. Charles, to move to executive session to discuss this topic. And it is now 6:21. And so we are in recess until we get back. And this is under 551.7071. Thank you. Okay, we're back from executive session. We're back from executive session at 6:35, and there's no action. I'm going to try to narrow my questions for you, Mr. Yarnell, and you bet. So just to set a predicate, in September of 17, isn't it true we had a preliminary hearing on your incident with the Pilgrim Cleaners as a council?
There was a city council hearing that the subject matter was a personnel matter concerning the zoning commission chairman.
Okay, all right.
And in that meeting, as I remember, there was a lot of discussion about going into an executive session, which would be closed, as we just had, and I was opposed to that. And I had told my wife that I was not going to do that, and I told you all that I was not going to do that. So you all went into executive session, as I remember. Help me with the timeline. You all were in there for about 2 hours in the executive session, talking over whatever you're talking about. And you come out and you told me that if I would agree to go into executive session, that we would discuss the issue of the Pilgrim Cleaners and the criminal investigation against me. And then, as I understand it, we would come back out into open session and go through the whole thing again. As I remember, my question was, well, why are we going into executive session if we're going to do the whole thing in open session again? But
Okay.
I was asked by the council, would you please consider going into executive session? And I said, okay. And to this day, my wife is not happy about that decision.
Okay. All right. We're going to fast forward then.
Thank you.
In 2018. What did you and did you reach out to Mr. Martinez and myself with a request around October of 18? And what was that request?
I talked to a citizen of Leon Valley who's knowledgeable in the state statutes, and in the conversation, the subject came up that I was under criminal investigation. And that person indicated to me, well, that's a serious matter. I said, really? Yes, it is a serious matter and it needs to be resolved. So I wrote a letter to the city council, including all of you, and asked that the city council take up this issue, remove this black cloud from our lives, and resolve this issue. And as I understand it, there was a executive session, another one, held with that question, and now Mr. Martinez is in trouble, I guess, for coming to my aid and trying to get this thing resolved.
Okay. What was the extenuating circumstance at that time that happened that you had requested that we look at it again? What happened?
Well, in addition to that, the Pilgrim Cleaners closed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they're no longer there. And also, I have a restraining warrant against me that I cannot go onto that property. It's still valid to this day, apparently. It has not been rescinded.
Okay.
And that's another thing in Chief Zavaggio's testimony the other night, that issue was brought forth by a citizen of Leon Valley. The manager of Pilgrim Cleaners at that time is not a citizen of Leon Valley. It's indicated in the incident report. It gives her name and address as in Church, Texas. So I, as a citizen of Leon Valley, was being accused of taking action, criminal action, when I talked to that manager. That is another lie that Chief Zavaggio has put forward. And whenever they closed, I said, you know, it's time to do something here. Why do we? It's always been over a year. It'll be 2 years in October or something. This case, and as far as I know, it's still open. And I don't understand.
Okay.
I can make a statement. I have to ask the question.
No, you can make a statement. I was going to.
I don't understand how a visit to a local business and have a conversation about a damaged sign turned into a criminal investigation against me.
Okay, but we want to relate it back to what did Mr. Martinez do or say to interfere in that investigation?
He took the issue to the executive session, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
I came forth with all of you. All of you were on the council at that time. We have two people. Well, Mrs. Malchus was there. Mr. Bradshaw was not. I was asking for relief. And apparently, he's in trouble now for bringing my subject forward and having it resolved. The statement was made in the letter to the Attorney General that I was harassing the city staff and would be continually lobbying to get them fired. That was nowhere in any of my letters.
Okay. Was there any specific, do you recall any specific action out of that executive session in October of 2018?
The council voted to take no action.
Okay. Just wanted to
It
clarify.
was unanimous. They voted to take no action.
Okay.
And we thought it was over.
Okay.
And another thing, the background of this. Prior to my woodshed meeting on July the 18th with Chief Sabaggio and Chief Valdez, I was told by a city staff person, they're going to come after you. I said, what are you talking about? Yeah, they're going to come after you. I said, for what? I said, for that deal with the Pilgrim sign. I said, you got to be crazy. I didn't do anything. But it turns out, apparently I did.
Okay. All right. I think those are do you have any other questions? Ms. Charles.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Yarnell, so Mr. Martinez offered to come to your aid and take your information to the executive session or bring it to...
No, I don't know that. I just asked the city council as a
Okay.
whole, as a body in the letter.
Did you ever ask Mr. Martinez to help you in any way with this case?
Not individually, no.
No. And to what, and do you have any knowledge of his doing other than coming to the council with it?
No.
Okay. So you haven't discussed this case with him outside of what you've said here, outside of your testimony?
Have I discussed the case with him?
Right.
Well, certainly.
So has he offered to help you in any way?
No, he just listened.
Okay.
I was constituent with an issue that I thought needed to be resolved.
Has
My
he
wife
given,
is sitting home now under stress because I'm sitting here testifying.
has he given you advice?
No.
Okay.
No. In fact, my wife was not in favor of the letter that I wrote asking for relief.
Mm-hmm.
She and I had one of those conversations that always often happens between a man and a woman when you don't agree on a subject.
Okay.
Okay. So far as you know, Mr. Martinez only brought the issue to the city council.
As far as I know.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Yarnell, is it fair to say that in your opinion, that the closing of Pilgrim Cleaners may have affected this case, and that's why you ask for us to look at it again?
I would thought it would be over with. Yes. What are we still investigating after a year and a half?
Right. Okay.
They're no longer there. The lady doesn't even live here. She's not a citizen,
Mm-hmm.
as was testified by the chief. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be locked
And
up?
after that executive session, did you understand that your case was still pending?
No. I didn't have any idea. I didn't know the case was involved at all until I got a copy of a letter that came back from the Attorney General's office that included the letter from our attorney, city attorney, to the Attorney General indicating that my request for public information regarding the records of the case were being sent to the Attorney General for his decision. And they got back that, as I remember, Exhibit A was not permissible to divulge, and
Okay.
Exhibit B was, but because it was an ongoing criminal investigation.
Okay.
That's what the letter says.
Very good. All right. Anyone else on the council have any questions for Mr. Yarnell? Okay, Mr. Yarnell, thank you very much for your testimony. Do appreciate it. Mr. Martinez?
Just for clarity, when I give my testimony in reference to Chief Joe Salvaggio, I will go into depth on this subject, and I will go into depth on what happened in executive session and the results of some emails from executive session that I believe violate the executive session rules. Just like you guys just went into executive session. What was discussed in there? Can you tell me? No, you can't, can you? That's privileged information. So, just with that, how come the information from that October meeting in the executive session is now public? Where did the privilege go? So I think there could be a couple people here, namely Joe Salvaggio, the police chief, and our city manager, Kelly Kinsler, violated the sanctity of executive privilege. But that'll be divulged more in when I give my testimony. For my next witness, I'll give our call up Dr. David Edwards, since he just drove in from Laredo, and I'm sure he's tired and wants to go home and rest.
Dr. Edwards, you'll need to be sworn in, please. Ms. Bosley, if you'll please give him the oath.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, I've asked to make a few remarks concerning some information that I have that is pertinent to the validity of this entire process, in my opinion. I'm making a request that Ms. Alcocer be recused due to the political nature of this process. On the night of her re-election to the Leon Valley City Council in 2017, she had a party at her house. And at the end of the evening, only Mr. Alcocer, Monica, my wife, and Benny Martinez were present and remained. Mr. Alcocer walked Benny Martinez to his car, and my wife went into their house. At that time, Ms. Alcocer turned to me and said, "I don't want Benny Martinez to be the mayor pro tem. Anyone but him. Will you do it?" I said I was hesitant due to some family issues and complications and travel concerns related to my business at that time. And then she went on to say, "I don't like him, and I don't want him on the council. She should be recused. She is not neutral or unbiased." As I've listened to this trial, it's clear that the city manager and the chief of police and some of the city staff don't like the way Mr. Martinez behaves. So this is not about crimes committed or violations. It's because they don't approve of his behavior, and they want him to stop asking questions. It's now essentially against the law, according to our charter, to even ask questions and behave in a way that the powers that be do not approve of or like. It's clear that the city manager and the chief of police and others have decided who is at fault in these allegations. I'm speaking about staff and the city attorney. They refer to these individuals as victims, when I believe the correct term is alleged victims. They're indicating the belief that he's already been convicted. I do not believe that even in Leon Valley, the way we are configured now, it is against the law to ask questions or make suggestions. I don't believe it's against the law to express frustration when you come in and they ask you to be wanded, and this is the first or second time it's occurred. I have a different way of dealing with things, certainly, but I don't think because my behavior is different that another individual that expresses some frustration is abusing policemen. And the other thing is that it's alleged that Mr. Martinez has given orders to city staff. I believe, when I look at it, that it essentially amounts to making suggestions. And in any case, even if he was making or giving orders, which I don't believe he did, no one acted on them. So in the end, nothing occurred. And in the term mistreatment, what does that mean in behavioral terms? that means your feelings are hurt. You're not satisfied with the exact nature of your job. You have to put up with things you don't totally enjoy. Let me tell you, I worked at the San Antonio State Hospital for almost 20 years, and I cannot tell you the number of times that some superior said something to me and asked me to correct something or do something that was difficult for the patients. And I didn't go try to seek out a setting like this to complain and talk about how upset I was. I was able to deal with it as a professional and continue with my work. Finally, another city council member I don't believe is neutral either. That's Donna Charles. When she was asked why she was running, she said, "I don't like the way Benny Martinez acts. I'm going to run and win, and I'm going to put Benny Martinez in his place." She should be recused also. Additionally, Mr. Henry told us at the end of an executive session, after we had stopped, as we were walking out, that he was going to try to deal with this whole situation by talking to staff and explaining to them that their concerns did not meet the level to go forward at this point, and he was going to try to help them understand that. Then something totally different happened. There proceeded to be a long period of investigation that raked up numerous charges. One of the city councilmen said, well, as we went out into this area, well, if you don't exactly state your concerns exactly right, you're cut off, right? Trying to open, I think, the idea that people had the right to continue to make complaints without end. So those are the statements I would like to make, and I ask that there be a response to my request for recusal.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Charles.
Dr. Edwards, you quoted me?
No, I did not quote you.
You did?
No, I did not.
Okay. You said something that I said.
Yes.
And you stated it like verbatim, supposedly?
Yes.
So where did you get that?
Several people told me that you had said that.
No, they were wrong. Because I never said that I wanted to replace or misplace or deplace Benny Martinez. I have never said that.
Did you say that you wanted to put him in his place and
I
you
did
didn't
not.
like his behavior?
I said I did not like his behavior. That's what I said.
That's different than several people told me.
So that's what I said, and that's where you need to stop.
I have several people that told me otherwise, so I'm going to stick with what I know.
Well, you don't know that. That's not what you know. That's
In
what
my
you heard.
opinion, I believe the
Point of order. Point of order, Ms. Charles. No statements. Ask questions of the witness. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Alcacer. Mr. Bradshaw.
Yes, Dr. Edwards, hello. You mentioned this election party that you were at Ms. Alcacer's home.
Yes.
What year was that? What election? Do you recall?
I believe, now, my memory may not be 100% accurate, but I believe it was in the spring of 2017.
May 2017. So was somebody up for election that year?
I believe Ms. Alcacer was reelected. I might have also been reelected, and there might have been somebody else up for reelection.
Okay. And you were on the council when these complaints were initially filed, is that correct?
Yes.
When were you made aware of the complaints against Ms. Martinez?
Well, I knew for a long time that many city managers did not like the way he behaved, the tone of his voice, his actions, and I heard...
Sorry, you said many city managers? Or...
I might have, sorry if I said that.
Yeah, sorry.
We only have one, yeah.
Okay, the city manager.
Well, I knew that the city manager and some city councilmen, Ms. Alcocer, Mr. Jordan, did not like the way he behaved. They didn't like the tone of his voice. They didn't like him questioning and trying to do various things which involved using his expertise in the area of telecommunications and computers. That dates back probably to 2017.
But the complaints that were filed against him in this hearing, you were given a copy of the initial complaints. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact date I received it, but I did receive a communication from Mr. Henry. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's what I was meaning. Okay. And what was your reaction to those complaints?
Well, I read them carefully, and what I determined was that I had significant concerns about the sexual harassment charge, the complaint from the worker at Public Works. You know, to me, that's he said, she said sort of thing. I didn't think there was much there. Let's see, what else were there? There were so many other complaints. The question about wanding and...
Point of order, his opinion doesn't relate to the complaints and...
Well, he's discussing his opinions on council, so he's actually discussing his legislative process. It's not whether or not Mr. Martinez committed those actions. So I think your point is correct.
Opinion as to...
Right. It's not a factual statement with regard to, did Mr. Martinez commit any violations at the time? So I guess your point of order is sustained.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Okay. All right. It's formulating these questions as a challenge, that's for sure. Dr. Edwards, I'm wondering, you had made a statement about your knowledge of Ms. Charles's attitude about Mr. Martinez, and how did you find out about that?
Well, several people repeated that information, including yourself, Mayor.
Okay. Did I call you after I spoke to her on the phone about why she was running?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And did I say that when I...
Relevance, and she's saying, testifying?
Ask a question, Mayor.
I think there was a dispute over what she had said, and this was firsthand knowledge that...
Are you testifying, Mayor?
I'm not testifying. I'm not testifying.
He
Anyway.
already said it wasn't said to him, just what he heard from other people.
Okay. All right. But you stand by what you had heard directly?
Yes, I did.
From me and from other people. Okay. Very good. I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
Can I get an answer to my request for recusal?
No, sir. There's no procedure for that.
No, it's not in the procedures.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
You sure may.
In thinking about this, observing this trial, and I don't want to be offensive, but I'm just going to tell it like the way I think it is. This reminds me of a Soviet show trial where the result is predetermined and there's really nothing that can be done to circumvent what the powers that be want. This occurred in the 1930s and 40s, and probably some of you who have studied history remember that. So I just don't feel like there's any process here that's going to be fair to the accused.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards, for coming forward. Now I'd like to call Gail Tribble to come up and testify.
Ms. Tribble? There she is. Yeah, we'll need to... No, we just needed to swear you in. And Ms.
Mayor,
Presley,
point of order. I do need to ask her a question before she goes under oath.
Certainly. Oh, before she goes
Before
under...
she goes
okay,
under
before
oath.
she goes under
Yes.
oath. All right, go ahead.
Ms. Tribble, you Have you consulted with your attorney about giving sworn testimony in this proceeding?
Well, I'm not prepared to talk about a lawsuit that's involving the city because I'm really surprised the police chief and the city manager have, because the city council refuses to discuss it with me when I've asked for them. So I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
But any other questions? I'm not here to talk about that at all.
That's what I wanted to make sure of, and make sure you
Okay,
talk
don't
to your
ask me any
lawyer
okay.
about that before you go under oath. Okay, thank you.
Saving it for the judge.
All right.
Do I need to be sworn in?
You sure do.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do. When all this started, I reached out to Councilman Martinez and asked to speak in his behalf or stand up for him, because whenever I had had issues or questions that I'd gone to City Hall about on various issues, I've lived here for 40 years, but since he's been a councilman, sometimes I would get vague answers or not. I couldn't follow the procedure. I couldn't understand. I'm a rule follower, and I found it really hard to follow the rules. So I went to him as my councilman and said, can you help me explain what's going on? And I'm going to read this so I won't get off point. If he didn't know the answer, he would find out and get back with me. Many people in the city would give me conflicting answers or not get back with me, and it was very, very frustrating as a citizen. I've been a taxpayer for a long time, and according to the organizational chart, the citizens are the top level, and I don't understand any of this that's going on, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I've asked for advice from him from all council members over the past years, and he, of course, Dr. Edwards called me back a couple of times, and the mayor. They were always willing to discuss it or have a cup of coffee, and I appreciate their time. They made me feel like I was worth their time as a citizen with a question. Benny is always willing to help out. He helps people in many veins, many different types of people. He doesn't say no, he won't help unless it's impossible for him to find out answers in a timely manner. He's a people helper. I got to know Benny when he became a board member of the local chamber. I'm also on the board. He's always offered advice at our meetings, and that's just Benny's persona. He's been a businessman for many years. He knows the ins and outs of business, and we respected his opinion. We didn't always agree on everything, but we were willing to discuss it, and we agreed to disagree, but it never came to anything like this. He has a lot of business experience and life experience and knows things should or could be handled in a proper way that is unobtrusive, reserved, subdued, and in a business-like manner. He had equal input on board decisions, and we valued his input. The board went to Councilman Martinez when we were told our grant was in question that we had received the year before. I had personally worked on that for a year and a half. It had gone through City Council. It had been presented 3 times. It had been approved by City Council, voted on twice. And then the next group of council that came in, for some reason they didn't think that was should have been handled in that way. And they kind of wanted to rescind our grant. So as a board member, he did try to find out about that. But all he did was ask questions. We were just trying to figure out what the heck was going on. We thought we were doing a great job, and we were fighting to keep our office open. And besides, we'd spent the money on rent and furniture, and there was no money to give back. We'd only received a partial expenditure of the grant. So he did try to find answers. He wasn't trying to tell anybody what to do. I can't imagine him doing that. Anyway, as a city council, he was both a city councilman and on the board, and we felt like it was appropriate for him to be the person to try to find out. I have never witnessed, this is my personal opinion, but I have never witnessed any of the behaviors which he's accused of. It seems like this city is allowing a few people to run the whole show and make it just the opposite by embellishing, dramatizing, or soaking up media news in a way mimicking our national politics we see every day. It's kind of embarrassing. It's dividing the city, it's dividing neighbors, it's dividing friends, and it's totally unfair the way this whole thing has been handled. It simply shouldn't have reached this point. Most of the complaints should or could have been handled in-house by someone who should have had the knowledge and training to handle the job, or at least in a private courtroom setting. In an effort to be politically correct, it seems like our honored councilman has become, our honored council has become a group lusting for blood, Benny's blood. After listening to all these episodes, it just seems predetermined rather than with everyone carefully dotting the I's and crossing the T's, rather scripted and generally pretty pat. You're attacking a gentleman who professes his Christianity. He's an honorable discharged veteran who served his country well, and who served on the city council for at least 5 years, and who takes his volunteer job as councilman very seriously. Councilman Martinez asks questions, trying to get answers. Sometimes he makes suggestions of better ways to handle. I didn't know that would be illegal to do. I have never seen him demanding anyone, just suggesting better ways to do them. Now, of course, if he believes in something, he is passionate, and he speaks passionately. And an unprofessional person might take offense at that, but that's just his demeanor. I'm asking the voting council to reflect on your actions with Councilman Martinez. Have you ever had any experience with him that would in any way reflect the rude, lewd, or inappropriate behavior that has been presented in this hearing? I have not. And I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dribble. Let me see if there's any questions from anyone on the dais. Ms. Charles?
None, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Alcacer?
I have a couple, Ms. Tribble. You were on the board of the, when it was the Leon Valley Chamber, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall the former attorney Cotoneo?
I recall what?
The former attorney?
Yes, named Roxanne. I don't remember her last name. Yes.
Cotoneo. Do you recall being at meeting at the chamber with her and with me and with Benny?
Yes, we were not expecting the city attorney or you to show up. We were asked, and I don't recall her name, wanted to come by the chamber office. They had a couple of questions regarding an employee that we had dealt with. And when y'all showed up, we didn't know what was going on.
So Benny didn't tell you that that was going to happen, that he had in fact set it up?
We didn't find out what happened for...
Okay, do you remember Benny's approach toward that attorney and how he acted rude, crude, and ugly to her?
No.
Was yelling and screaming at her?
He was not there in that meeting.
I'm talking about the meeting he was at.
No.
That he, in fact, interrupted the meeting.
Was I there?
Yes, you were there.
I'm sorry, I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you recall a meeting here in the small chambers in there next to the, where we had several meetings?
Mm-hmm.
And do you recall him being at another meeting there where Roxanne was there and he attacked her over and over, where he was standing up and yelling and screaming at her, and she ended up crying?
No.
You don't recall that?
I'm sorry, I do
All right.
not.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Bradshaw.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tribble.
I don't remember some of those meetings myself, Monica. I do remember when the city asked the chamber, they wanted a refund of the whole grant that the city gave the chamber to help the chamber promote the city. And then when it came up that they wanted it, they wanted the chamber to refund it. The chamber is very struggling, and I was passionate about helping them. But due to your involvement, Monica, you immediately stated that I was to be restricted and not attend any meeting of in dealing with this subject. So I didn't fight you. I didn't argue about it. So I was not in attendance at any of those meetings, and that's because of you only. So I just wanted to clear up that fact. Now, one thing, when I ran in 2014, my political wall hanger or door hanger said that I wanted to be a passionate voice for the citizens of Leon Valley. And I have been a passionate voice for the citizens of Leon Valley. That's my character. When somebody comes to me for help, I am willing to go to bat for them. Isn't that your job? Isn't that your job to be the representatives of the citizens of Leon Valley? And what about the business community? Isn't that your job to assist the business community when you can? Why am I the only one that does it? And why am I being condemned for that? Okay, I would, any preference on who would like to come next? Okay.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Certainly do.
Yeah, can you say that in the mic?
I certainly do.
Thank you.
And would you please state your name?
Of course. My name is Tina Chasin. I am from Forest Oaks Subdivision, and I'm here to give testimony to Councilor Martinez. First of all, I want to publicly thank you, Mr. Martinez, for the excellent job that you've been doing for the city of Leon Valley over the past several years. Personally, I want to thank you for helping my friend, Miss Robledo, with her year-plus struggle for her certificate of occupancy with Brandon Milland and others. Through your persistent and unstoppable questioning of the Planning and Zoning Office, Ms. Robledo was finally able to receive her certificate. Not only did you help Ms. Robledo, but countless others as well during your tenure as elected counselor. I thank you. Whenever a neighbor asks me a question and I tell them to attend city council and they said they've watched it and they still don't understand, I have given them the information to contact Mr. Martinez. I do so knowing that he will go above and beyond to talk to people to help resolve their issues and their concerns. I know sometimes, Mr. Martinez, your questioning in the search for answers might seem intrusive to those that are not used to having their offices looked at quite so closely. But as a frustrated citizen You are deeply appreciated. You will always be one of our city's greatest assets. Your abilities and contributions are an important key to the success and progress we have all enjoyed. Councilor Martinez, please take a moment to reflect upon your accomplishments and take pride in knowing that you are indeed an important member of our council, of our city, and I thank you for your continued commitment to Leon Valley. I'll take questions.
Okay. Ms. Charles.
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Alcacer.
I have nothing.
And Mr. Bradshaw.
Hi, Ms. Chasson.
Hi.
How are you? You mentioned that Mr. Martinez helped your friend, Ms. Robledo.
Yes.
How did he do that?
He went and questioned and found out some information and told us what steps to do next. He inquired at the offices and spoke with certain people, and things started to move. You have to understand this took a long time, something that should have taken 3-4 months, drug on, and I can go into detail because I was there.
Right. No, I don't need too much detail, but just high level, can you tell us what the issue was?
The issue was she asked for a certificate of occupancy for an assisted living home and environment. And after 9, 10, 11 months of the people coming out and doing inspections and saying, okay, you passed here, but we need this, we need that. And she would ask for a complete list of everything and anything that they saw wrong with her price of residence, that she would make all corrections. She wanted to comply deeply with the city and get things done. My mother lives at that residence, so that's why I was so deeply involved in it. Mr. Martinez was able to find out what was going on and direct us in the correct manner. When she finally received her certificate of occupancy, it was for a nursing home. It was a clerical error. Somebody in the office just messed up. When she asked to have it changed, they said she would have to start the procedure all over again and pay another $200 filing fee, which she did against my wishes. I said, this is ridiculous. Benny once again interceded. She finally got her $200 back, but it took 2 months after she received her correct certificate of occupancy. And may I say that I also resigned from the Zoning Commission. I was not a member for long. I was an alternate. I was to be there all summer as one permanent position person was going to be absent. I had been pouring through the zoning books, trying to make myself aware of exactly what it entailed. When the night of the first or second 312 with Brandon Milan attacking my mayor, who happens to be a friend, but she is still the mayor. And I asked for him to apologize, just like I asked for Ms. Alcacer to apologize. I have yet to hear that. So based upon that, I molded over the first day of the 312 when I heard that. The second day he came back and really attacked her. That made my decision to resign. That office is messed up. It needs help, and I don't know if it starts at the top with Brandon, which I think it does, and goes down. I have no idea. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Sit down.
Okay. Very good. Yes. Do you have a question? Yes.
Did you ever
Councilor
take the
Arcacer.
Open Meetings Act?
Pardon me?
Did you ever take the Open Meetings Act?
No.
And you were...
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, online.
And did you ever do the ethics training?
Yes, I did.
And when did you do that?
When it was offered, the first night, the first day, it was the weekend. Several people Mr. Blackmore, I think, was there at that. Yes, you were.
Thank you.
Yes, I took all of the courses.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Jason.
You're
Do
welcome.
appreciate it.
This is another example of what have I done wrong other than provide constituent services to our citizens. And I ask you again, why don't both of you just got elected, so you don't have a track record yet. But Monica, why haven't you provided constituent services to the public like I have? That's our job. We were elected to be representatives of the city. Now I'd like to call my wife up, Pat Martinez. She's got a lot of knowledge from different aspects of when I get into my actual testimony. A lot of the points that she's going to bring up are directly relevant to what I'll be testifying.
Okay, let me ask. All right. It's been suggested that we've been going for about 2 hours, so Ms. Martinez, if you'll just bear with us, we will take about a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back at about 20 minutes till the hour. Okay? Thank you all. We stand in recess. And it's now 20 minutes till 8 o'clock on Friday, July the 19th, 2019. We're continuing the 312 hearing. Mr. Martinez, you were going to call your next witness.
Yes, I would like to call up my wife, Pat Martinez, and just so everybody here knows and realizes, I have not assisted her in any way. I have not coached her. I have not told her to write anything. In fact, I don't even know what her speech is going to be about. She has come to me and asked me for some specific documents that I've provided to her, but I have no idea what she's going to say. I'm going to hear it for the first time like you are tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Martinez, if you'll come forward, and our City Secretary, Sandra Pasale, will swear you in. Thank you. Were you already sworn in?
Actually, she did give testimony before.
Well,
That's fine.
Okay. Well, if you feel like you've already been sworn in, then we'll just tell you.
I rebutted something that was said.
Okay. Go ahead.
Cell phone.
Okay. All right.
I said that.
All right. Okay.
Let's
Thank
just
you.
do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I've got several things here that I want to discuss. And the first one is I'm Pat Martinez. I live in Seneca States. Is about the situation on Rousseau and Seneca on July the 29th, 1917. I mean, 2017.
2017, I was going to say. Okay.
Okay. When Chief Savaggio gave his report of what happened, I mean, there was a lot of things that was in his report weren't true. I know this because I watched it, I saw it, and I can tell you my side of the story is a lot different than his. He never mentioned that we were having a garage sale that day on July 3rd, 2017. Oh, 29th, excuse me. 29th. It was a beautiful day. Looking forward to having a successful and profitable day. Our sale was going great. Had lots of customers. Our neighbors across the street were having a garage sale as well. So that meant we had two going, which made it great for customers because they would just walk across the street from one to the other, and we'd have kind of work off each other. Then around noontime, the traffic just stopped. We had no customers for a long time. Waited around a while to see if it would pick up, but it didn't. Eventually, one man came by and told us why. He had come down Handsome Lake to Red Jacket to get to our house on Rue Sophie. The reason our garage sale died was because a pickup truck in the middle of Seneca between Rue Sophie and Handsome Lake with a missing wheel had blocked traffic. After he left, we did notice a couple of police cars down this corner of Rue Sophie and Seneca. People standing around on the corner observing what was going on. The scene didn't look like there was something serious going on. The area was not very well contained, to my opinion, to make us believe there was something serious going on. There was no police car blocking off our street from our direction, although there was a car parked in the intersection between Rue Sophie and Seneca. I guess they did that so people wouldn't go down Seneca. Benny decided to walk down to the corner to see what was going on so we could maybe get our garage sale back going. My neighbor, Rudy Tobias, the one that was having the garage sale next door, and I watched Benny as he made his way down the sidewalk. As he got closer to the corner house, he began to hear police yelling and running towards him. He didn't realize they were yelling at him. During the confusion, he thought he heard them say gun. Maybe it was get down. If you say that phrase fast enough, you might mistake it for gun. Get down, get down. You know, especially if you're in that kind of situation, you don't know what's going on. Hearing that, he ran to get on the other side of the SUV that was parked in front of the house that they were that was the house where the man was that had assaulted somebody. So they said. It was parked on Rue Sophie, parked between two houses, between the corner house and the house next door. And he did that so he could seek safety. Now, we've had our carry license. We've taken courses, and that's what they tell us to do. If you feel you're in danger, you need to find some place to get out of the way, and that's what he was trying to do. He was crouched down by the car. By the time the two officers approaching him, their AR-15 rifles pointing at him, ready to fire, or it seemed like that to me, watching this from my house. They kept telling him to get down. He went down on his hands and knees, fingers spread, a non-threatening position. He was in the process of getting on the ground when I heard the officer behind him say to him, "When I tell you to get down, I mean to get down, flat on your face." The officer then, that I seen, my perspective where I was standing, I seen he put his foot to his back, knocking him down violently to the pavement. Benny had recently had surgery, unbeknownst to them, which made it more restrictive movements, preventing him from immediately to lie prone and on the ground. He immediately began saying he was on city council. Before they could begin to handcuff him, Corporal Guerrera instructed Officers Bell and Vasquez, "Don't handcuff him. He is a councilman." I was horrified and scared at what was happening. Imagine seeing two officers pointing high-powered rifles at your husband and fearing that they could shoot him at any time. They helped him up, walked him to the sidewalk, and told him to leave the area. It took him a few minutes to be able to gather his head together as he had his forehead hit the pavement and had a big knot on his head. When he finally walked back to our house 3 houses down, what I saw was unbelievable. He had a busted lip, a knot on his forehead, a cut above his eye, which later became a black eye, scrapes on his face and arms, and bleeding from his scraped knees. He looked like he had been in a fight and lost. I guess he did. Needless to say, I was furious about the treatment they showed toward him. My rebuttals on what happened, what Chief said, and this is what happened. Benny did not run from the officers, as Chief Savaggio stated. He was not trying to leave the area. He was trying to get behind a car to take cover. As he was on the ground, on hands and knees, he began saying, "I'm city councilman." Chief Savaggio stated that Benny wasn't getting on the ground. They had to force him down. He was already on the ground. They didn't have to force him. He was hands and knees. But that's not what they wanted. Okay, and so he said because he wasn't on the ground, they had to force him down. He was on his hands and knees when they violently pushed him face down to the pavement. They did this so they could handcuff him with handcuffs behind his back. Officer Bertin's statement of 7/29/17 and 1/2/2019 said he was handcuffed, placing handcuffs behind his back. This is not true. I have all the reports of the officers that were there that day. They do not say he was handcuffed. The other two said no, he wasn't handcuffed. Okay. Like I said, Officer Vasquez and Officer Bell's statement on 7/29/18 or 19 or 18 said they did not handcuff him. There are conflicting accounts of what occurred. These are just a few of the discrepancies in the police reports by Chief Savaggio and Officer Bertin. Identifying underlying cause of this should be addressed. This is one truth, one right answer. There is what happened and there is what did not happen. There is truth and fact, and there is falsehood, and you can't spin the truth. If you cheat, you never find the truth. And that's on that part about Seneca. Now, I want to address the statement of Officer Gonzalez told to Police Chief Savaggio that he and Chambers discussed when he gave his report. I am not going to state what he said because it does not matter, but what he said was, I can't say the word, repulsive to me. Police Chief stated in his report, quote, Lieutenant Gonzalez detailed for me in October of 2017. That was in his report, 2017. I don't know if that's correct or he's just made a mistake. He does make mistakes. He is not God. Just because he's a police officer and he's been a very good police officer for years does not mean police don't make mistakes. So I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's what he said. He was going to detail the full story as to the conversation between Councilman Martinez and his wife, me. When Officer Gonzalez was testifying, he couldn't say who my husband was talking with on the phone because he didn't know. I'm not sure what Officer Gonzalez was able to hear or understand. What the police chief reported is hearsay, an item of idle or unverified information or gossip. And as God is my witness, I can truthfully say my husband has never said anything like he described to me, and he would never say that to anyone else. Nor would he make a comment like that in public. I do not believe that conversation happened. I am appalled, disgusted, and mad as hell. These comments, which I find totally unsubstantiated, in an effort to destroy my husband's credibility and drag him through the mud. As you attempt to do that to me, Chief Savaggio, to him, Chief Savaggio, you also do that to me. I find your comments self-serving, arrogant, and disrespectful. Lie becomes truth only when a person wants to believe it. That's my story on that. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is regarding Counselor Rodriguez. The allegations against my husband, Councilman Martinez, for sexual harassment are baseless, unjustified, and untruthful. On the night of December 3rd, 2018, Vinny and I attended the tree lighting ceremony in the park, as we always do. The council members, mayor, city manager, and Santa were gathered together to take a group picture. All were huddled together closely to get in the frame. I stood by the photographer, facing the group, watching as the pictures were being taken. It was a quick photo shoot, probably didn't last more than 10 seconds. Everybody was standing still for each picture, and I did not see any movement from my husband or Councilwoman Rodriguez during that time. It is my perception, if anything like this had happened, as she said, I would definitely have seen it. Mm-hmm. At the very least, she would have turned around and gave him her bitch face look, as she said she frequently did. It is my perception that Councilwoman Rodriguez is not a shy or demure person and would have reacted if what she claimed had happened. I have witnessed confrontation between her and a lady in the foyer of the council chambers outside. In the foyer this spring, she was in a rage, yelling and screaming in a lady's face. It was so loud, I turned around to see what was going on. The yelling could be heard inside the council chambers. And shortly, an officer finally stepped in between them and told Councilwoman Rodriguez to go into the room next to the council chambers. As she was leaving, she yelled back to the lady she was going to press charges of assault on her. She said the lady had continued standing in place, not saying anything, not even touching her or talking to her. She said she asked her a question that made her angry and very hostile. Is this a predictable pattern with Councilwoman Rodriguez, accusing and threatening people with charges and comments? This seems to be extreme behavior and being out of control. Any council member should not yell at any citizen at any time. And that's my report. Oh, I forgot about questions. Okay.
Ms. Charles, do you have any questions?
Ms. Martinez, when the chief showed the video of 2017 here at the hearing, you were here to see that?
I have that at home too.
Okay.
Yes.
So did you see that same type of treatment in that video where they put the foot on the back and pressed him to the floor?
I seen it because I saw the video. It showed the reflection of his leg in the in the side of the car.
Okay.
Besides, he had his rifle on him. He couldn't use his hand. He used his foot.
Because, okay. And then they helped him up and got him out of the area to safety?
After he started telling me he was councilman, and the senior officer identified him as that, and they said, do not handcuff him, pick him up, and lead him to the sidewalk. Now, Chief Joe said they walked him home. They did not walk him home. They just took him to the side of the sidewalk and told him to leave the area.
But did he enter an area that was considered unsafe at the time because of the armed felon?
We did not know what was going on in the corner. All we were told, there was a truck in the middle of Seneca between Ruth Sophie and Handsome Lake with a wheel off. And nobody could get past that. And that's why we thought the police were there. There was no police car on our street to block our view or block our entry from going anywhere. Now, later on, after all this happened, they did finally get a fire truck or a police officer from San Antonio in the street. But after this had already happened.
Was there any message leading up to that for him to stop and not enter the area?
No. They weren't paying attention. And I got all of these reports. One officer said they thought they saw him leave the house that they were watching. And if they had been paying attention, they would have known that had never happened. This house is a corner. It's tilted. It's not right on the street. Benny was walking down the sidewalk. He wasn't even to the corner. But they seen him from across the street, and they start running toward him because they thought he was the perpetrator that they were trying to protect the woman from.
So would you recognize that was probably a tense situation all around for everyone?
No, there was people standing on the opposite corner watching. Would you think that would be something serious? You'd have to just kind of step back and not go?
But so there was no message from the police for him to stop and get down or stop and to do anything?
Well, once they saw him coming down the sidewalk, they started running toward him, and they were yelling. Like I said, he thought they said gun. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they said get down, and he just misunderstood. He went around the car to hide. He didn't run from them. Once he got down by the car, he crouched down and stayed there. He didn't get up. He didn't, like Chief Savaggio said, he wouldn't show his hands. He had his hands up. Because like I say, his perspective of that is different than mine, because I was standing, watching all this take place. I had started to go down there and see. I'm glad I didn't, but I was watching. So I saw things that Benny didn't see. So if the chief said, well, he lied on his first report, that's a lie like itself.
So then in the case of Councilor Councilor Rodriguez, You were at the, was it National Night Out?
No, at the tree lighting
Oh,
ceremony.
tree lighting ceremony. for
Where the picture was made.
Photo shoot.
Mhm.
Were you also at National Night Out?
No, I don't like to go to those things. I don't like to ride in a police car. And you go from here to here to here. No, I don't. I've never done that.
So you wouldn't have any knowledge of what happened at those events? Any personal
I
knowledge?
have what Benny told me.
Okay. But at the photo shoot, the Counselor Rodriguez's testimony that is Counselor Martinez was close enough to her backside that she felt his private parts.
You can see space in that picture between them two.
The space on the side or the space between them from the back, front to back?
Just because she said she felt something, does that mean that he did something?
No, but I'm asking you, were you close enough to see whether he was that close or not?
Well, if they were taking a picture here, I was just as far as the photographer was. Because his name is Adam. I know him personally. So I stood there by him while he was taking pictures. And he was close enough. I was close enough. And I wasn't right in front. I was on the side where I could see. I wasn't planning on seeing anything, but I never saw anybody move. And he wasn't touching her in the picture. You can see.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Counselor Harkisar?
Was your husband carrying a pistol the day of the...
No.
Did he have it in, you know that for sure?
Yes.
Were you? You did?
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay. But you said you have a license to carry too?
I sure do.
Did you have it that day? Did you have your
I
gun
only
with you?
carry that when I travel.
Okay. So at the July 4th celebration, when you went in, did you go through security?
July 4th?
Yes, this year.
I went through the gate.
And did you go by security or did
Yes. That's the only way you can get in from the park.
And did you have your bag checked or whatever you
I
had
didn't
with
take
you?
a bag.
Did you have yourself checked? Weren't they checking everybody?
I don't remember.
You remember?
They
Benny?
were let us in early because they weren't letting
What does this
people
have
in.
to do with the pricing?
Point of order, what does this have to do with the complaints against Mr. Martinez?
Good
Good
point. They avoided security.
Excuse me, let's give him a chance to respond. There has been a point of order.
The
Thank
point
you.
of order was, what does this have to do with, you're talking about the July 4th of this year,
This
right?
is passed?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it follows that he bypassed security that day and
Who
got her
said,
to
who said that?
bypass.
We went through the gates where you're supposed to go.
Excuse me. Is that, are you going to
There's
rule
not a
that this
complaint
is
in the...
on Mr., before we answer? Go ahead.
The complaints are from before July. So don't ask any questions from beyond July.
Okay. All right. I have no more questions. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Mr. Bradshaw.
Ms. Martinez, to the incident in July of 2017 on Rue Sophie, when you were having the garage sale, and your husband went to go towards Seneca to see what was going on, where were you at? Were you in your yard at that point, or were you over at the
I was in the
neighbor's?
driveway of my yard.
Okay, and you could see a straight shot down
Yes,
the street.
I try to get as close to the street as I could without getting into the street, but I was not in the yard.
Okay, and
I
was your husband, Councilor Martinez, on your sidewalk, on your side of the
Yes.
street, is walk all the way
Yes.
down? Okay, and then at what point did the officers start yelling and Ms. Martinez run away?
Well, I guess he got as far as between the corner house and the house next door, because that's where the car was parked. And when he heard them yelling at him, and when he thought what he said was gun, the car was right there, so he just went around the back of it and squatted down on the
car
side
was
of the
on,
car.
Sorry, don't mean to cut you off, but the car was parked on.
It was parked on
your
Rue
side,
Sophie.
your side of the street.
Yes.
Okay, and then when he thought he heard gun, he ran.
Around the back
Car?
and squatted down.
Stop. Did he stop or did he keep running?
No, he didn't keep running.
Okay.
He was trying to be caught. Well, he was afraid there was something going on then, and he was trying to get out of the way because that's what we're taught to do. When you think there's a active shooter, you find a place to hide and get out of the way.
Okay.
That's what he did.
Okay. And you mentioned that Mr. Martinez, when he came back, or your husband, he had cuts and a busted lip and some scrapes and things like that?
Yes, I'm sure he'll show pictures of that. That he looked like he had been in a car accident.
Okay. And did Mr. Martinez, after this happened, did he file a lawsuit against the police officers or the city of Leon Valley?
No, he did go to the chief of police and they talked. The chief of police did apologize to him for what happened. He did say that the area was not well contained and that they could probably use that as a training for what they shouldn't do any time after that. Okay. But no, he didn't want to file a lawsuit. I did, because I felt he was unfairly treated. And he could have gave him a brain concussion.
So you wanted to file a lawsuit, but your husband didn't?
No, he didn't want to do that because he was on council. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm a councilman, and, that's just not the right thing to do.
Okay. Now on to the tree lighting ceremony in December at the park. You were, as you said, you were standing by the photographer
Adam Martinez.
When the pictures were taken?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell approximately how long the whole picture?
Well, he only took, what, three, 4 pictures? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't very long because they were standing there, and he would take a picture, and then he'd move a little bit and take another picture. And so that's why sometimes it looks a little different, because he changed his position, not that they changed their position.
And after the pictures were taken, did Councilor Rodriguez, did she say anything to you or to anybody?
No.
That you saw?
No.
There?
I didn't see her face change. I didn't see her body language change.
Okay. Because I'm not familiar with this event, but after the pictures, did you guys go anywhere else immediately after?
Well, they would disperse and everybody went their own way. I mean, there was things to, look at, go into the, I don't know if it's called not the conference center, but the other, go look at lights, talk to Santa. I mean, we hung around for a while, and then when we saw everything we wanted to see, we left.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ms. Martinez, just a few questions. First of all, I apologize. I think I said yesterday about your husband having surgery, and that was a private matter, and I apologize for that.
Right. I mean, it would have had to be brought up.
That was...
He couldn't, I mean, it happened in June that he had that, but he was still restricted, and he couldn't just pop down like they wanted him to, but he was trying.
Okay, and have you, how would you describe, or how have you observed your husband's handshaking over the years?
Well, he started handshaking in the audience, when he started becoming a councilman. He shakes hands. A lot of people, he'll shake them with both hands. I do the same. I mean, it's not construed as being sexual. And I don't believe that he would inadvertently, caress somebody's hand.
All right. And did your husband tell you that he was calling Ms. Rodriguez to have lunch or breakfast
He
with
told
her?
me when she first got elected, he called her to see if they could go to lunch so he could get to know her, because she was new.
Okay.
And it's something he's done with other counselors.
That was what I was going to ask you, if he'd done it prior to...
In the past, yes.
Okay.
So, but she never replied, and he didn't put forth any more effort if she didn't want to talk to him or go, okay.
And after the National Night Out, did your husband come back and relay anything that happened during National Night Out?
No.
Okay. And just to confirm, you observed no change in expression on Councilor Rodriguez's face standing there For
No.
the, what, did you say 10 seconds, 15
That's
seconds?
what
of
I
the
would say, because, you know, you're,
pictures?
you're taking
Okay,
shots.
Sure.
It's not
Okay.
going to take that long to do that.
All right, very good. That's all I have. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
In regards to the police incident, I have quite a bit more testimony that I will give, and I have pictures, and I have the drawing that I gave to the police department. It's like a rendering of the street, and I can show the position of the car, the sidewalk that I was walking down, and then when I thought I heard the word gun, I ran. I was on the sidewalk. I ran around the car, and I squatted down. I was down like this, and I was ready to bolt out of there. When I took, or when both of us took our, at the time it's called concealed carry. Now it's just licensed to carry. When we took our concealed carry training, one of the things that they really emphasized is don't try to be John Wayne and the hero. If you hear gun, or you think you're in a situation, get the heck out of there. If you can't get the heck out of there, try to barricade yourself in a room, or try to get some kind of protection. And at the last resort, fight. So once I heard the word gun, I got out of there. And yes, that when I was walking down the street, I carry a little .380 pistol in my back pocket. I did have it with me. When they took me to the ground, they immediately realized who I was, and they brought me up. They never frisked me, checked me for a weapon or anything.
Okay. All right. So what's the next?
Okay. Lynn, do you want to come next?
Okay. All right, Ms. Joseph, good evening and welcome. If you would please allow Sandra Postley to swear you in.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you very much.
And Joseph Canterfield. Now that this trial is kind of coming to an end, I'd like to say that I believe that Counsel Benny Martinez is innocent. While choosing to see Counselor Martinez's passions as threats instead of suggestions, his assistance to new businesses who come to him for help when the door has been closed, or citizens who were blocked at every turn on issues needing help. He has done what citizens have elected him to do, represent the city and citizens. I do not believe that the sexual allegations are true, simply because several meetings back I read what Counsel Rodriguez had stated to her attorney. Her descriptions are to me, very fictitious. They sound very fantasized. And I've known several women, I've worked in the medical field, that have described their problems that they've had with men being sexually assaulted. I've had men sexually assault me. And I don't know any woman that is going to stand there and take it. You're either going to kind of move, you're going to make some kind of gesture. I just don't understand why she would just stand there and take it. Excuse me. She's old enough and mature enough to know how to handle herself around men. And she's not the shy woman she portrays. I'm glad you laugh, because I don't see it. How's this whole big ticket item helping the city? When all told, with attorney's fees, lawsuits, investigation fees, time spent compiling evidence, working either on the job or on their spare time, all to discredit one man. And then the trailing in of other citizens to be discredited. Not long ago, we were trying to reband the city to move forward, to improve. Now we are an embarrassment to all, as wasteful, something going on that's not right, distrustful to our own city and outsiders. What is the reason behind all of this? There seems to be more than just trying to discredit. Where do you all want to see the city to go or to end up? Do you have your own agenda, or are citizens included? Most of you don't even live in Leon Valley. And of course, I'm referring to those that City Manager, Counselor, Chief Savaggio. I don't see where they're helping the city. They don't have anything really invested in it other than their jobs. Has it occurred to all of you that this could have been started with your being questioned of your conduct and actions? It has snowballed into this. I would like to address that the issue of a hostile working environment. I have seen city attorney, who says that she's very passionate about the city, but she flares up over an issue, over a word. I've had several discussions with her over the time, over different issues. I used the phrase one time about, you're just causing us to shoot in the dark. I'm not shooting anybody, and her voice went to that level and kept going. I've heard it here at the diocese. I'm on the BOA. She gets very loud. She has to be heard. She constantly interrupts. To me, that's she works here. That is a working environment. Mr. Martinez is at the diocese. He's not employed here. That doesn't, to me, make a hostile working environment. If he comes to your office, then was he really, truly sat down and counseled about, you've stepped over the line? Mrs. Kessler kept saying she pleaded with him. Did she do that just from the diocese, or did she actually take the time to approach and talk with him? That was never stated. Police chief, who has tried to really run down Will Bradshaw, Benny Martinez, anybody else he could drag into it. He's the pot calling the kettle black. He has been caught in so many different instances where his statements are untrue. He doesn't, he has told me that with an incident with Mrs. Rodriguez in the foyer, where she tried to tell them to file assault charges on me, I turned around and told Officer Baton that I wanted to file charges against her because she assaulted me. She got in my face. She came to me. I approached her, asked her, may I please ask you a question outside? She turned to me and said yes.
Point of order, Mr. Henry. Is it, nothing that she has said so far directly relates to any complaint that she has knowledge of with Counselor Martinez?
It does give credibility.
It's not going to the factual assertions. Having character witnesses come up and talk, I mean, you can have the entire town come up and talk. The proceeding for you guys today is, what factual information do the witnesses have that you guys need in order to make your determination regarding the complaints that are alleged? Do you have factual information regarding the specific complaints?
Yes, those are factual things that happen.
Regarding the complaints?
People, yes. I mean, if they can try to show that Benny has his character, why am I not allowed to show their character for the same reasons? She assaulted me. And when Officer Baton pulled me out of here and said, I have to file a case, here's this, and I said, she is going to file charges. And I said, I want to file charges against her. I find out, I came and asked for the CD and the records, and he never mentioned that I said that. And when I asked police chief about it, he said, the officers can interpret it however they want. To me, I directed him. I said, I want it quoted. I want her to be charged. If she's going to charge me, I want to charge her. So that's just going to character. I question her character against what she's trying to do to Benny. So yes, that is all I have to say then. Thank you. Stand for questions.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Charles, do you have any questions for Ms. Jessup?
No, I do not.
Officer? Mr. Bradshaw.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
Now, I hope you're going to permit me. My wife just motioned to me that she forgot something to say, so I'd like to call her back and let her finish.
Can she? I think it's so close to her coming back, so go ahead. If that's amenable to the council. Is that all right? All right. And you're still under oath, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor.
What I'm going to speak about now is how Benny was charged with giving direction or doing this or doing that. And I have some things here that he did for the city. And I want to know if these ideas or suggestions any different than the others that's been charged, he's been charged with. Shall I read them?
Sure.
Can I read
whatever
them?
Whatever
Okay.
your testimony is.
Number 1, the library. He was instrumental in getting the library open on Sunday and Monday. It's been a great success with citizens love having their library open 7 days a week. Number 2 is the community center upgrade. Staff contacted Councilor Martinez to be part of the evaluation process in the upgrade of the community center because of his knowledge in the IT business field. He suggested to put the TV monitors on the wall to provide better viewing of presentations for the citizens. It was very welcomed by the citizens at the town hall meeting. He has also offered his help to Crystal Caldera when there was issues with the microphones at the community center and on the dais. Staff. City manager offered staff a choice of 2 options on their pay raises. Would they like a 2% raise with less money going into their retirement fund, or a lesser raise of 1.5% with more money going into the retirement fund? They elected to go with a 1.5% raise and more money into their retirement fund. When budget was approved, it was realized they had more money in the budget because the insurance cost was lower than anticipated. Councilman Martinez suggested that since there was more money in the budget, they would be able to give staff the 2% raise and add to the retirement fund as well. The city manager, Kelly Kinsler, and the finance director, Vicki, immediately started putting in figures to see if this was possible. Councilman Martinez was correct, and through his suggestion, the staff was able to benefit from the idea, a big win for the city staff. Now, were these ideas and suggestions any different than the others that he is being accused with giving direction? The recall of a duly elected official for these frivolous reasons are not democracy in action, but a farce.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Charles, Ms. Alcacer, or Mr. Bradshaw? Okay. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to call Mayor Irene Baldridge to come forward.
Okay.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ma'am. Need anything on me? No. Okay, I was not going to come and speak. I've been out of office for a number of years, but I do have to come and face all of you with a question. What are we going to be gaining by downing, ridiculing, accepting some thoughts and rejecting others. In my view, we need to work on putting our thoughts together, working together, being fair, allowing people to express their attitude, how they feel about issues, work through issues with them, and not reject them and ridicule. I can't envision having these problems years ago. I mean, we never, ever did not find a solution that would work. Now, if someone got in here with a baseball bat or whatever and started beating up someone, but this is not a life and death situation. This is a situation of doing the right thing for the citizens and with the citizens to whom you promised to work when you got elected to office. You did not become elected to office to find ways to get back at people or disrespect their thoughts. And I think, based on what I see at meetings, the meetings are normal like they used to be. Everyone has the privilege to speak or not to speak, to agree or not agree, but not split and come out in force to draw down the ongoing business regularly that is needed at our City Hall. Sure, we need proper management, and that is your responsibility to keep proper management going. And if that is falling by the wayside, you don't split in attitude with it. You work together in resolving it. Now, I don't know, there could be a number of other things that I would say, but I've been around too many years to back up and say what might work and what might not work. But that's what I see, what should be working in every community. I don't care if you're working as a council person, as a committee member, or anything. We find a way to work together. We don't pull sides, blame people for things that may or may not be true. That's wasting time. And I guess I just want to say I appreciate all your work you do that works for our city, but I don't like what I see. And I hope you understand what I'm saying. By disagreeing and not finding a solution to make it work, you're killing our citizens. Our taxpayers are going to look down on us. They're going to be reading what we're reading, what you're putting in the news for them to digest. And for the life of me, I don't know how they can at this time. So please come together. Don't find fault. Don't find blame. Put a combination of tools together to make it work. I lose a lot of sleep over this. I spend a lot of time with this city. I was mayor for 10 years and council member for 6. And believe me, some of you know that. And we never, ever had issues like this. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mayor Baldridge. Any questions for Ms. Baldridge? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Martinez, do you have another witness?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to just do a real quick, since it's been quite a while, I'm just going to go through really fast on what I was able to cross-examine before. So here is an email from Yvonne Acuna to Kelly Kinsler. I have had the opportunity to read the report submitted, and I have found several errors. This is from Ryan Henry. She says, I do not recall saying Mr. Martinez kept undressing me with his eyes. And Mr. Henry wrote, no, you in fact did not make that exact statement. However, the actions that you were describing were also observed by another complainant. In order to remain consistency in the report, I categorized the same actions with the same statement. The next one, bottom of first paragraph. The statement is that I was wearing a snug shirt, and that is not true. I never wear snug shirts, so I would not have said that. Comment from Mr. Henry. I apologize if I interrupted your statements incorrectly. I have in my notes taken during our conversation that you were not wearing a low-cut shirt and the shirt was filled out. Because the way the shirt fit, there was no possibility it would fall forward like a loose shirt, exposing your cleavage. However, Martinez kept trying to look down it anyway whenever you would lean forward. He was sort of hoping for a peek, is the wording I put down. I took that to mean the shirt was not loose and fit well enough around your figure that the shirt did not have a loose portions to fall forward, so I put snug as the description. Okay, let's see. Wording the second paragraph is not true. Is not a representation of the manner in which I speak. This is also true for most of the statements about my experience throughout the report. Comment from Mr. Henry. This is correct for most of the factual report and interviews. While I put certain key phrases in quotation marks for highlighting, I have paraphrased most of the phrases in quotation. Let's see. I have paraphrased the report for everyone, including Martinez and Prophet. There was a complaint from Denise Frederick against Larry Prophet. That's why the reference is in here. There are numerous reasons for doing this, not the least of which is the paraphrasing is meant to capture the core of the conversation and cut out all irrelevant stuff. It is also to be poorly written document if I simply quoted everyone word for word. The risk of paraphrasing is that I may have misunderstood parts of the conversation, or while I understood the conversation, the paraphrasing focuses only on the parts needed for the counsel, giving a disjointed feel to the person who was interviewed. You know, how much of Ryan Henry's report includes inaccurate statements? Paraphrasing keeps the core of what the person said or what you read, and you interpret that in your own words, but you keep the core of the message the same. Obviously, this didn't happen. Here is a report from my eye doctor. Hold on one second. Okay. I checked with my eye doctor about my left eyelid. I'm sure most of you have noticed it. He said I have a condition called ptosis. As many people who know me have observed, this is commonly called lazy eye. This makes it hard for people to know where my eyes are focused on and restricts my field of vision. As seen on the screen from the letter from my doctor, you can read his writing, which restricts his visual field. He also gave me a referral to a doctor that specializes in surgery for my eyelid to correct this condition. I deny all of the elements of the reporting by Jan Acuna, though it is obvious that Ryan Henry distorted many of the elements from Mrs. Acuna's interview. I won't blame her for the misunderstanding and the implications and challenges of a person with ptosis who had a cornea transplant over 40 years. Attorney Ryan Henry's report includes fabricated and embellished statements. Much of his report of March 15th includes, or how much of his report includes inaccurate statements. Now, real quick, I'm going to go through this. With Catherine Rodriguez, I'm being charged for violating Section 707 of the Charter, or 702, I'm sorry. And it says, no persons shall be appointed to or removed from any or for in any way favored or discriminated against with respect to any city position or appointed city administrative office because of race, national origin, sex, political or religious opinions or affiliations. Where is Councilwoman Rodriguez appointed? Or where is she being appointed for anything? Where is she being removed from anything? Where is she being favored for anything? Or where is she being discriminated from anything? So clearly, this section does not apply to an elected official. The other section that they're trying to get me on is Section 308, vacancies, forfeiture of office, and filling of vacancies. If a member of City Council violates any provision of this section and does not immediately resign, the City Council may conduct an investigation and hearing pursuant to Section 3.12 of this Charter to determine if the office holder is in violation of this section. The hearing shall be held within 60 days of the City Council as a body learning of the alleged violation. Mr. Henry, like I stated earlier, in court was very, very adamant that the 60 days started on March 15th. Need I say any more? Now, real quick, I'm going to go through these. Catherine Rodriguez's 3 complaints, or original complaints, were on National Night Out. She alleged that I asked if I wanted to take a bath. On November 20th, at the City Council meeting, she claims that I was stroking her hand. And then on December 3rd, at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, she claims that I stood too close to her backside. During her interview with Attorney Ryan Henry, her 3 complaints kind of morphed into 11 different complaints. I don't know how that happened. Was he fabricating like in Ms. Acuna's statements? I was treating her in a sexually suggestive manner? Too many lunch invitations? Well, let's talk of the first one first. I do normally come to City Council meeting about 15 minutes before the start, and I always go out in the audience, shake people's hands and welcome them, and, do a little small talk with the people that come to council meetings. I've learned to do that for different organizations I belong to. I have never had any time to spend with Councilwoman Rodriguez, so I don't know how I could be saying sexually suggestive manner. Too many lunch invitations. Like was stated, when she got elected, I did call her. She did not answer the phone. I got her voicemail. I congratulated her for winning. I don't know the lady. I've never had a conversation with her. And I just suggested that we go to lunch and discuss the city. Isn't lunch supposed to be a non-threatening way to meet somebody? Invade her personal space. When have I had a chance to invade her personal space with a room full of people and me walking around shaking people's hands? When would I have a chance to say subtle innuendos? And of course, we've already admitted to me shaking her hands and different voice inflections. Hey, honey, what you doing? I guess that's what she's talking about. I have no earthly idea. Undressing me with his eyes. Is she psychic? It's on 2 different occasions. I guess city council meetings, I was doing that. Touch her whenever I could control the scene. Again, I've never been alone with the woman. Destroyed previous friendship with my wife. That's between my wife and her. I have no earthly idea there. And I deny asking to take a bath, and I'll show you in a minute. And of course, we've already discussed the Christmas tree lighting. Oh. Here is a picture of the wash tub. Now, I admit I probably said something like, hey, that's a nice place to take a bath for a dog. And that doesn't mean I'm calling Catherine a dog. I'm just saying that that's a nice place to take a bath for, the animals that they care for. So I don't know how it got construed that I wanted to take a bath with Catherine. Here again, real quick. Look at my feet. Look at Catherine's feet. You can see. Look at our legs. You can see grass between them, right? This is picture 1. Here's picture 2. Have I moved an inch? Has Catherine moved an inch? Picture 1 again. Oh, sorry. Look at the timestamp over here. Created Wednesday. December 3rd, 2018, 5:01:06 p.m. Look at this one. 5:01:10 p.m. 4 seconds. How could I have possibly stuck my crotch in her backside in 4 seconds and got back to the same spot with her smiling all the time? Like I said, I've probably asked 5 dozen different women, if a guy did that to you, you would either step away, say, excuse me, slap the guy, elbow the guy, turn around and kick him where, but the person would have some reaction. There is no way anybody would stand there with a smile on their face if somebody did that to them. I believe her statements are politically motivated, especially the testimony that was given about Wine 101, where she was with Art Reina and a couple other people, and they made a statement that they have plans to get rid of me. And Catherine was bragging about she's going to do something to me. And then 2 weeks later, she files this sexual harassment charge. Is that pre-planned? Again, with all these charges going from 3 to 11, did she go talk to Mr. Henry and Mr. Henry tell her, hey, those complaints really don't have any merit? We need to embellish these. Let's embellish them like we did to Acuna's testimony. And they came up with the additional charges. I'd say, it's been mentioned that, I am a religious person. I was a broadcast engineer for my local church. We go to church every Sunday until these allegations came about. But I swear on a stack of Bibles, I believe all of Catherine Rodriguez's allegations are slanderous and defamation in character. Here is a sworn statement from my office manager, Marty Benke. Her daughter is in a softball tournament out of town, so she is unable to be here. But she says, I started working for Benny Martinez a little over a year ago as his office manager. In that time, I have never had any incidents of sexual harassment, and I have never felt uncomfortable or disrespected in any way. I am a female, and I know he has had other females that have worked for him in the past. I am out of town and unable to attend, okay? So she gave this sworn statement. When I had my wireless store, I probably had 10 different women work for me. I have never been accused of doing anything with any of my employees. Okay. I am ready to start or continue with the main portion of my testimony. And I'm going to start with Brandon Milland. Brandon is claiming that I gave orders demanding creation of documents and information that did not previously exist in relation to a Texas zoning matrix for RLUIPA. I call it RUPLA. I don't know if there's a correct pronunciation for that acronym, but that stands for the Religious Land Use Institutional Property Act. Basically, it says that you can't discriminate against churches, and that's what the city got sued for with the church, the Round Church on Bandera several years ago. Sorry. According to the Charter, Section 309D, no member of the City Council shall interfere with the city manager in performance of the duties of that office. And here's the important part. Except for the purpose of inquiry and investigations. The City Council and its members shall deal with the city staff solely through the city manager. So, this gives all of us on City Council, including Catherine Rodriguez, the legal authority to do inquiry and investigation in any aspect we feel necessary to do our jobs. What I was asking for, and even the attorney didn't bring it up, is when this item came up at City Council, I asked a question. I did my own legal research, and I found this federal law, and I brought it up. Brandon, at the time, came up with the idea of creating a new zoning classification called civic. I was questioning that. What does civic do to property value? What does it do to the way churches are regulated now? Are there any other cities that have a civic classification? In January, I sent an email to Kelly. Every email I have sent, I send to Kelly Kinsler, the city manager, and I copy Mayor Riley. That is the proper procedure. Well, I don't have to copy the mayor, but as a courtesy, I think she needs to be involved or have at least the knowledge. So I include her in all my emails. I asked a bunch of questions. Kelly chose not to answer them. After about 2 weeks, I resent the email. She responded. And this is her response to me. I have not sent you a response yet because the questions you posed below are requiring a lot of staff research time, with an already taxed staff, I'm going to give you what we have done below, so at least you have a partial answers to your questions. These are answers to questions 3, 4, 5, and 6. In addition to these answers, Brandon is going to attempt to have answers for questions 1 and 2 on or before the workshop on Monday. That Monday, we had a joint City Council Zoning Commission workshop. Brandon came in. He never did answer questions 1 and 2. This demanding staff to collect information not contained within city records and not requested by council in relation to a zoning notification mailer. Here's the regular agenda. This was brought out in reference to St. John Church. We heard Pastor Price talk in detail about this last night. We talked about how, as a body, our whole council directed Brandon Milland to send out expanded notifications. We designated the areas that we wanted them. A motion was made. It was unanimously passed, instructing Brandon Milland to do that. Here's the motion. A motion was made by Council Member Monica Alcazar to include the expanded for the zoning issue at 6800 Evers Road, will include all of the Pavona Place, will include all Linkley and the properties to the left of the church of the school, or to the school, and then the little neighborhood, Gumtree, Barneywood, Fruitwood, and the odd side of Timberleaf and Peachtree from Huebner to the odd side of Grass Valley. Look at who mover, Monica Alcazar. It was seconded by former Councilman David Edwards, and all of us voted for that. As a body, we instructed him to send out the notifications. At the next City Council meeting, Brandon came up, and as he stated in his testimony, all he provided us is the test results from within 200 feet. I asked him for the expanded results. He refused to give them. As a body, we instructed him to do something. Did he violate City Council instructions? The next allegation by Brandon is directly interfering with staff's ability to issue permits relating to a special use permit involving George Morehouse, certificate of occupancy, specific use permit matter. Bobby Anderson and Mr. Morehouse contacted me in reference to a certificate of occupancy problem that he was having. Mr. Morehouse was upset, and I'm going to read his letter here in a minute, that he was required to wait an extra 45 to 60 days before he could open his business. There was contradiction between what Brandon Milland and Bobby Anderson and Mr. Morehouse stated. I asked for a meeting. I asked Kelly for a meeting. The mayor was there. Brandon Millard was there. Xavier was there. I was there. I brought one of his rabbit cages. And I don't know why the police chief was there, but the police chief was in this meeting. He had no business being there, but he was there. We talked about this, and we talked about the contradiction. And, of course, Brandon denied all of the statements that I brought up. But this is a charge against me. As a city council member, as a representative of the people, when there is an issue, what do? I called for a meeting. Let's discuss this at the lowest level. Let's keep it down to the lowest level. Let's have a meeting. Let's discuss it. Let's try to find out. Let's try to work together to resolve this issue. Unfortunately, Bobby Anderson could not be here tonight. He's been here, I think, the first and second night. Here's his letter that was attempted to be read on the first night that was rejected. This letter is in reference to how George Morehouse of Morehouse Industries was treated by the city of Leon Valley while going through the certificate of occupancy process. George Morehouse, a small business owner and disabled combat veteran, reached out to me in the fall of 2018 about leasing 1908 square feet office warehouse space in the West Loop 2 Center located 5413 Bandera, Suite 405. This is the office center behind HEB. His craft involves creating small wire cages for hamsters, rabbits, birds, guinea pigs, and other small rodents. He supplies them to Petco, PetSmart, and PetSbarn. Below is a summary of what happened during the certificate of occupancy process. When George was first viewed the space, he determined it would be ideal for his business. He and I went to the city to inquire about his use, if it would be allowed at the West Loop 2 Center. Our question was the following to Brandon, the zoning director. Do we need a specific use permit? Let's see. We asked this question to Brandon because assembling packaging generally requires an SUP in B3 zoning, but per section 1502.322 of the code, B3 allows for some light assembly of goods, which is evidenced by some of the current tenants within West Loop 2 Center, including electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, cabinet maker, auto repair shops, screen printing, glass company, and sign company, etc. We mentioned to Brandon that the use would include office and warehouse storage and also light assembly, which involves wires being cut by hand to the size needed, then clipping a wire together to form a cage. No loud noises or chemicals. We also mentioned that the business was a 100% wholesale. Office and warehouse storage and wholesale facilities are permitted by right in B3 zoning. We reached out to Brandon first because we wanted to be transparent and upfront with the use and to find out if this use would be permitted in B3 zoning without an SUP. George did not want to apply for a certificate of occupancy or start moving in until he had an estimated time he could begin working. Brandon said not to worry, that he will work with us, and that he didn't see a problem with the use in the center without an SUP. George proceeded to fill out the certificate of occupancy application with 1 or 2 days. All city inspections came out to the space. George passed all inspections, including zoning compliance, and you'll see the exhibits below. About 5 days later, George reached out to the city to see if his certificate of occupancy was ready. He had everything set up and was ready to start working. The city told him it should be ready in a few days and they would reach out to him. About another week went by. He contacted me and said, I'll call the city to see when he could pick up his certificate of occupancy. I spoke with one of the office administrators, and they said Brandon wanted to speak to me. Brandon told me that, unfortunately, George would need to get an SUP. This was shocking to everybody involved, including the landlord. I asked why he changed his mind. He said because George will be creating cages by putting wires together, that he considers this assembly and light manufacturing, which is only allowed in I-1 zoning. He said he would not categorize his use as a wholesale facility or office warehouse storage, which are all allowed in B3 zoning. I proceeded to meet with Brandon in person. I also spoke with Todd Morgan, who did the zoning compliance inspections, and Eric Burnside, who did the fire inspection. George also went to the city and met with Brandon. We also had a conference call with Todd Morgan. Brandon still would not change his mind. George was ready to open, and on the 11th hour, Brandon determined an SUP was required. This delayed George's ability to work for over 3 months, costing him thousands of dollars in lost income, and his vendors, which include Petco and PetMart, threatened to leave him to find another supplier. He also had to pay $500 SUP application fee. This decision by Brandon was completely devastating to George. Brandon also told him if the city caught him working in the space without a certificate of occupancy, he could be fined up to $2,000 a day. Question, is this type of welcoming we want small business owners to have as their first experience in Leon Valley? In addition to this, Brandon attempted to require the landlord to pay for and provide the city a traffic impact analysis for the entire 7-building, 45-tenant business park. Brandon said a TIA is required when doing an SUP, even though George only had 1 or 2 employees. This would have cost the landlord well over $10,000. The landlord had to hire an attorney to dispute this, costing her over $3,000. Brandon and the city of Leon Valley need to understand that their decisions and mistakes can cost people their livelihood, financial well-being as their business. It directly affects families. George ended up going through the SUP process and obtaining the SUP. The landlord really appreciated that George did not decide to leave and relocate outside of Leon Valley city limits. The only one at city who fought for George was Councilman Benny Martinez. George and the landlord were very impressed with the pro-business and common sense approach he displayed. During this entire process, Benny met with George multiple times, had phone conversations with him, and also toured George's space. Benny tried to reason with Brandon and find a way and found out why he was doing this to George. Leon Valley should be grateful to have someone like Benny to assist business owners. What happened to George could have easily resulted in him going out of business. Bobby Anderson, Property Management Manager, West Loop 2 Center. What can I say? What was I doing here? What was I doing here? Providing constituent services to a brand new business trying to move into our city. Again, I asked the question, Councilman Rodriguez, and you just have got on, so I can't answer that question. Councilman Alcazar, why haven't you tried to help businesses relocate when they have problems in Leon Valley? Isn't that our job? Isn't that what we are elected to do, to represent the citizens and the people of Leon Valley? Here are the 3 inspections that show, this one shows it was approved. Here's another one, it's hard to read, but it was approved. And the third that was approved. directly giving staff instructions to staff to be business friendly as noted in Martinez' email dated February 12, 2018. Prior to a city council meeting, I met with Kelly Kinsler in her office about 2 zoning issues that were brought up in Kelly's testimony, dealing with U-Haul and the aquarium. Kelly Kinsler walked me down to the community development office for me to talk with Nina Nixon. We talked about both items. We found out immediately that the whole package was processed improperly. Manuel Rubio was there. He was trying to. He owns that little strip of land behind, or this side of U-Haul. He was trying to sell it to U-Haul. U-Haul wanted to put in a automotive storage facility. It's zoned, the way it's zoned right now, they could do that by right. They don't need a special permit. They don't need anything. Just come and get a certificate of occupancy. The way it was processed is for boat and RV storage. So there was a big contradiction in the way that this was processed. As for the aquarium, the city, ever since Kelly Kinsler has been employed here, it seems like she has it in for the aquarium and has been tried to make it very, very difficult for them. In fact, last time they were shut down, they threatened to move out of our city. I know for a fact that they were originally given what is called a 380 agreement to reduce their taxes, sales tax, and she found a way to get that canceled. But she wanted them to, at this time, she wanted them to redo their parking lot and add islands and plant trees there. And my comments was, this place has already been there for operating for a couple years. When they were first given their certificate of occupancy, everything was okay at that point. So that should be the starting line. They had not done any additions or changes to require them bringing it up to the current code. So I just mentioned that. The next morning, I called Kelly Kinsler to inform her of the discussion I had with Nina. And here's my response. And again, look at how it's addressed. From me to Kelly Kinsler, copy Mayor Riley. Like I've said, I always go through Kelly Kinsler, and I always copy the mayor. So how can I be in violation of the charter for giving direction to staff if I go through Kelly Kinsler, which I'm supposed to? And here's basically what I just said in my oration. And I just mentioned, how could being business customer friendly be against city code? If their professional ethics prevent them from being customer or business friendly, then they may not be the right person for their positions. I don't see helping a potential business open or expand their business to be contrary to our charter. Let me go back a second. I did ask Nina, when a customer, and I'll just use the word customer, when somebody walks into community development and says, I would like to open a business, what do I have to do? She hands them a packet. that customer takes that packet, or I believe someone from community development should ask them a couple questions. What kind of business do you want to open? Where do you want to open it? They have a chart that shows R1, R2, B1, B2, B3, and it lists the type of businesses. That should be kept right at the front counter. So if you wanted to open up a donut shop, B2, by right. It's as simple as that. It should take 15 seconds to look that up. So you need to, I think, to be business friendly, community development should be there to ask just a couple questions what they want to do. They don't know our laws. They don't know what the zoning restrictions are. Then let the customer take the packet home, fill it out, and bring it back. And just do a quick look at it. Look for red flags. If you're a professional in this business, you know what red flags are the red flags that are common. Look at if it requires a floor plan or building drawing, what they want to do. Just take a quick look at it. A professional should be able to look at the plans in a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, and say, "Hey, you need to take this back and redraw this, or your form is filled out wrong. You need to correct this, and you need to correct this." Let the customer take it home. Bring it back corrected. Isn't that being business friendly? Isn't that helping a new business come into our city? Doesn't that give a new customer a good feeling? Hey, Leon Valley wants to help me. Of course, she denied all that. She said, all I do is hand them the packet. When they bring it back, she just takes it and submits it to the review committee without any inspection or checking it for red flags. And what was happening at the time, there were several cases that came before City Council, and every one of them had staff recommends denial. Staff recommends denial. And I maintain if staff was working with the new applicant, found out a little about what they wanted to do, and gave them just a little guidance, community development can do, I recommend approval. I recommend approval. Isn't that what we want? Don't we want new businesses in Leon Valley? And shouldn't we be doing everything we can to help them, welcome them into our city? But I guess not. I'm being charged for violating that principle. But the funny part about this, I have been mentioning business friendly for quite a while. If you go back to the last couple of city council meetings, when Brandon is being up here talking, he started using the word business friendly. Imagine that. All of my conversations with Nina, Felicia, are all recommendations. I have never said, you must do this. You have to do this. You shall do this. Those are orders. If I make a suggestion, is that an order? Do you have to take my suggestion? You can take a suggestion and either run with it or ignore it. That is all I've ever done, is made suggestions. But of course, I'm being condemned for making suggestions. Directly giving staff instructions to staff to be business friendly. Okay, I'm ahead of myself. I must not have pushed the button in time. I just went through this about being business friendly. But like I said on the bottom here, recommendations and suggestions are not giving orders. Again, this one, this is basically the same thing, recommending that I approve permits. I have never ordered anybody to approve a permit. I've never ordered anybody to do anything illegal. I've only been guilty of assisting businesses that are having trouble and contact me for help in opening their business in Leon Valley. Intentionally undercutting Milan's authority in public in order to disrupt the Community Development Department at an operational level at the council meeting on December 18th, 2018. And there's a movie about that. I'm sorry, I had these slides
So let me go ahead
in
and close
the
that
slide
public hearing
presentation
then
mode.
at 9:45.
But
and Mr.
for
Abbasi,
some reason,
we cannot take a vote this evening because we have a
Crystal's computer can't
two-read
read the movies.
requirement with home rule. But on December the 18th, we will take this up again and vote on it. And I'm sure it'll pass.
Thank you. You'll have a good evening.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you for coming. And nice to have met you, Mrs. Abbasi, as well. You bet. All right. Then moving then to agenda item 7.5. Ms. Postle, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council granting a specific use permit for a kennel at Lot 69, Glass Service Subdivision, Leon Valley, Bexar County, Texas, as requested by applicant Sylvia Smith, generally located on the south side of Post Road, approximately 900 feet west of Bandera Road, providing for repealer, severability clause, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And Mr. Milan, if you'll continue.
Yeah, thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is our last specific use permit consideration for the evening. This is a request for a specific use permit for a kennel. It's 6746 Post Road, and I'll go ahead and jump over to the aerial here.
Okay.
You can see this is in the development that's just a little bit west of the existing daycare facility on the south side of Post Road. So that the applicants are looking to occupy this facility and operate a boarding facility. And so, according to our code doesn't distinguish between boarding or kenneling. It's defined as a kennel facility. So that's why they have to receive the specific use permit before they can begin operations.
Mm-hmm.
As always, we look at surrounding land uses. We look at our comprehensive master plan, and so in looking at the area, and looking at our comprehensive master plan. Our comprehensive master plan states that we're seeking to develop retail within 200-foot buffer of Bandera Road. So this property is just a little bit outside of that area.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at our future land use plan earlier. You can see this area is indicated in the future land use plan as commercial. And so generally a kennel is a use that staff finds is generally compatible with heavier commercial uses. And it's currently zoned B3 for commercial uses. Mm-hmm. So in terms of zoning and the comprehensive master plan, staff doesn't have any issues with this request and thinks that that such a use as this is generally compatible with the.
So let me go ahead and close that public hearing then at 9:45. And Mr. Abbas.
You can stop it. Brandon's complaint that he said that I passed Monica Alcazar a note, and then he got completely flabbergasted. You saw at the beginning, that Monica passed me a note, and I read it, and I moved over, and we had a brief discussion. All the time, did Brandon get flustered? Did he stop talking? Did he get to a point where he couldn't continue talking? He just continued like nothing ever happened. Like he wasn't even paying attention to us up at the dais. Where is this a complaint against me? This is fabrication. Never happened. The video just proves that this never happened. This is more noise, for lack of a better word, that is just another attempt to inflate the charges against me. This never happened. You know, there was also another incident where even Pastor Price mentioned it last night, where I asked Brandon a question, and Brandon alluded, and his answer was all over the place. Even Pastor Price said it was hard to follow Brandon's speaking. I asked the question a second time to Brandon. Again, he refused to answer the question. He just kept on rambling. Finally, the third time, I asked him a yes or no question. That flustered him, because now he had to answer truthfully. He didn't like that. Now, Brandon works for who? He works for the city of Leon Valley. He works directly for Kelly Kinsler. Kelly works for the city council. Who does the city council work for? All of you, the citizens of Leon Valley. Shouldn't you guys require us to be honest and truthful? Shouldn't we require the city manager to be truthful? Shouldn't the city manager require her staff to be honest and truthful? Was Brandon being truthful? You know, I view Brandon Milan's actions to be unprofessional and contrary to the expectations of City Council. City Council relies on staff being open, honest, and transparent in order for us to make the best decisions for Leon Valley. If we're not given the true facts, how can we do our jobs? How can we represent the citizens if we don't get the proper information? This is another issue where I have a problem with city council members almost acting like employees of the city. I know for a fact that Monica Alcazar spends a lot of time at City Hall attending staff meetings, and so does Catherine Rodriguez. And I'm not sure about Donna Charles, so I haven't heard, so I can't comment on that. But when city council members attend staff meetings and ask questions, their voices carry a lot more weight than the average staff member. Why is it at council meetings that some people never ask questions? They attend the staff meetings, they know what's going on. So when they come to city council, they already know and made up their mind of what's going on. I, as a business owner, I don't have that luxury. I have a business to run. I've got employees that I have to keep busy. You know, they have their families. It's up to me to keep them employed. So I don't have time to be here at City Hall, as other people seem to have the time. So if you're involved in the day-to-day operation of the city, you're attending staff meetings, you know what's going on. You can influence the staff's recommendations. So when it comes to city council, you're a rubber stamp. You know what's going on. I don't. That's why I question things when I'm at city council. This is a really good one. Ordered Milan to amend his design manual to include language Martinez wanted in the manual. Anybody that's followed Leon Valley, we had workshops, and CPS, City Public Service, had different workshops around the city in reference to 5G antennas. I believe they even came to City Council and showed pictures of some of the really ugly telephone poles with big ugly boxes hanging on them for the 5G antennas. By federal law, the carriers can put these 5G antennas on our street lights and our traffic poles. Do we really want these ugly boxes on our littering our city? CPS had some workshops about this around the city, and I attended as many of them as I could. And at the CPS meetings, when they were talking about interference, I mentioned that we need to have a statement in there that includes all FCC licensed services. The way it's written, the way it was originally proposed, is that the 5G antennas, if they interfered with the city's communication or the traffic light signals, they would have to be turned off. And I suggested that we include the phrase FCC licensed services, because I was told, well, we don't need that because the FCC controls that. That's true. The FCC does control that. But with the reduction in staff and the reductions in all around the country, they've closed offices. It could take 2 to 3 years for them to respond to an interference problem. So if we had it in our ordinance that we could require them to turn it off immediately, would solve a lot of problems. A few years ago, and since I'm a ham operator, amateur radio operator, in parts of mainly in the East Coast, they came up with an idea: broadband over power line. These high tension power lines that run across. They came up with the idea you could send internet over those wires. They quickly found out that those mile long wires are antennas. And they were radiating signals all over the place. They were causing interference to police, fire, amateur radio services, a lot of services. So I was a little bit keen on the subject. That's why I brought this up. A lot of other cities liked my suggestion, and I don't know if they adopted them or not, but in our ordinance, for some reason, it got changed. Instead of FCC licensed services, it got changed to amateur radio frequencies. The reason I wanted FCC licensed services, let's say there could be up to 60 5G antennas for one regular cell site. So if a 5G antenna was, let's say, next to a hospital, and it went haywire, and it was affecting the hospital paging system or the security of the hospital, don't you think that might be a major issue? So I'm just being a little proactive. So this got adopted in our ordinance, and as a body, we agreed to it. So how am I ordering Brandon to do something here? Right now, amateur radio frequencies are part of our ordinance. I've only made recommendations, and it was acted upon. That was a recommendation. I never told Brandon, you must put this in here. You have to, you shall. A recommendation. And here's the email. Include FCC licensed services.
Yes. I think we're at the 4-hour mark.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the council
I'm at a breaking point right now.
You are at a breaking point?
Yes.
Okay.
We are too.
I'm exhausted, and we've got another meeting tomorrow right here at the chambers at 9 a.m. So I know we're not supposed to adjourn, we're supposed to recess, but I'm not sure what the schedule's going to be. We don't have it
We
posted.
don't have it posting,
No.
so you need to adjourn this meeting.
Oh, okay,
And
need
you'll
to
pick
adjourn
back
this
up at a
meeting.
new,
Okay,
newly
you can tell
posted
her. I
312
said
meeting.
recess, not adjourn, Sandra, as you had asked me to do today. So, but that's right, we don't have anything else posted. My correction, so thank you. Okay, so we are going to, if there's no objection, we will move to adjourn on Friday, July 19th at approximately 9:34 in the evening. Thank you all very much for being here, and we will adjourn, I guess, we'll let y'all know when the next hearing date's going to be. Good evening.